Hello, world. Welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. Hello, world, and welcome to the Shannon Joy Show. We're broadcasting live from the Joy Virtual Studio right here in the beautiful Finger Lakes region of New York State. It is so great to be with all of you today. It is Wednesday, the epicenter of yet another very busy broadcast week. It is September 17th, and we are so thankful for all of you. Big show today. The final betrayal after so many betrayals. Trump's FBI Director Kash Patel, after bungling, right, the investigation into the Charlie Kirk assassin, which we'll be getting into in just a little bit today. He now declares that Jeffery Epstein apparently wasn't a sex trafficker. Are you buying this? Lots of hearings happening today in the United States Senate. And yesterday, FBI Director Kash Patel testified, I kid you not, that Jeffrey Epstein didn't sex traffic underage girls to anyone, according to the files that they haven't fully released. So after 10 years of investigation, hyperbolic reporting from Conservative Inc., promises from Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and Pam Bondi and Donald Trump himself and the majority of conservative media that we were going to get to the bottom of the Epstein case, it is now door closed. Now, this is interesting because it completely contradicts what U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi said just a few short months ago on May 7th of 2025, that those same files that Kash Patel just announced have nothing in them that would incriminate any other John or any other client of Jeffrey Epstein that he trafficked young girls to. She said that those same files contained thousands of videos of child sexual abuse and that there were hundreds of victims. So which is it? Right? There are so many conflicting stories out there, so much chaos, so much confusion, and things just don't make sense. You know, I posted out on Twitter just a little earlier today that I have a distinct memory from grade school, probably second or third grade, somewhere circa 1980 something, of the boys in my class, the young boys in my class, having arguments over whether or not WWF wrestling was real, right? Like Macho Man Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan. Yeah, they really hate each other and they're going at it. And there was a certain group of boys that totally believed the whole thing. And then the other slightly more sophisticated set of boys were like, are you crazy? Are you stupid? This is all fake. It's fake wrestling. It's not real. They're tricking you. And I have these distinct memories of you know, the scales falling from their eyes, these boys, as they realized that it was all fake, all a charade, right? Like a facade, not real. And I get the sense with everything, all of the inconsistencies with the Charlie Kirk assassination and the weirdness around all of it. Did you see the love letter from the assassin to his tranny roommate? We're going to do a dramatic reading of that a little bit later in the program. Insane, ridiculous. Is anyone buying this? It was a headline in the New York Times. So the New York Times, the AP, Bloomberg, Reuters, BBC, they're all posting this absurd letter that looks like it was written by a 65-year-old FBI agent, right? Absolutely insane, overly dramatic, with capitalization, punctuation, and sentences with, you know, subjects and predicates, which no young person ever uses. They communicate in emojis and you know, with absolutely no punctuation. It's ridiculous. Like, no one buys this. But with a straight face, the left-wing news media, the right-wing news media, Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Kash Patel, the entirety of the FBI, intelligence, the Department of Justice, the Democrat Party, the Republican Party, Con Inc., and Bizarro Con, all of them, Alex Jones, this guy's never met a conspiracy that he doesn't love, but he's buying this one hook, line, and sinker. And with a straight face, they are feeding you this most absurd confession letter, right? It's just not real. It doesn't seem real to me. I don't know about all of you. Maybe this is because I don't sit on the left or the right. You know the motto of the Shannon Joy Show: not left, not right, just the truth every day, straight up, no chasers. We don't carry water for the Republican Party or the Democrat Party. We scrutinize those who seek to obtain power, particularly within the federal government. And we're not nice here on the Shannon Joy Show. We don't choose sides. We don't choose politicians. You will never see me out stumping or promoting or getting behind or endorsing any politician from any political party, because that's not the job of press. The job of press is to scrutinize and ask questions. And I'm sorry, not be dumbasses and repeat obvious lies and acknowledge obvious psyops time and time again. So the good news is, just like the fellas in third grade, as they were waking up to the WWF illusion, I think more and more Americans are waking up to the fact that this government lies to us every day. They've lied about the JFK assassination. They've lied about September 11th. They've lied about what happened just a week ago with the Kirk assassination. And yes, there's great violence. They are quite comfortable inflicting violence upon their own people. We saw that with the COVID lockdowns and the democide of 2020 and 21, right? They're vicious. They are predators. But nothing they say is true. Whether it's the Biden administration, the Trump administration, Biden's attorney general, Trump's attorney general, they work together in tandem. And time again, Groundhog Day, political hell. What are they doing? Consolidating power. So here we now have another rug pull. Everything that Trump told you for 10 years was a lie. There's no there with Jeffrey Epstein. He was a great guy, right? He only abused young girls himself. He didn't farm them out to other people and clients, despite volumes of evidence and expert witness testimony and hundreds of victims, dozens of whom have come out publicly, who are speaking up about the Johns and the clients of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Why would Ghislaine be in prison right now? She was convicted of sex trafficking. In order to be convicted of sex trafficking, you have to traffic women to other people. Jeffrey Epstein, why did he get a sweetheart deal? Why was he imprisoned during the Trump administration? Because he was convicted of sex trafficking, meaning there were Johns. The women were trafficked to other people. He wasn't convicted of having sex with younger underage girls. It was much larger than that. So this is just blatant. This is right in our faces. And we have the video clip here. If you just want to see, juxtapose what Kash Patel is saying, what he is testifying at the United States Senate, as opposed to what Pam Bondi, DOJ, said just a few months ago, and it takes your breath away. It's the complete opposite. It's time that we wake up and we stop being chumps and idiots and fools. In fact, Jesus Christ said, "Be wise as serpents, gentle as doves." As Christians, we're not allowed to be dumbasses. We're not allowed to be idiots. We're not allowed to be chumps. And when this stuff is staring us right in the face, it's time to stand up and acknowledge that the emperor has no clothes. Despite the illusion and everything we've seen over the past 10 years. Come on, people, let's go. Let's look at these two clips and then we'll come back with some of your comments.
You've seen most of the files. Who, if anyone, did Epstein traffic these young women to besides himself?
Himself. There is no credible information. None. If there were, I would bring the case yesterday that he trafficked to other individuals. And the information we have, again, is limited.
So the answer is no one?
For the information that we have.
In the files?
In the case file.
Okay.
No one. Isn't that convenient? No one. No one. There's no underage child sex trafficking ring in America, guys. Right? Everything Donald Trump told you, it's totally false. There's no there. Epstein trafficked girls to no one. They don't exist, says Kash Patel with a straight face. Well, the DOJ had something very different to say just a couple months ago. Again, both of these individuals work at the pleasure of the President of the United States of America, Donald Trump, which begs the question, is Donald Trump using his administration to cover something up? Is he in the files? I think we need to reopen that investigation again because they're trying to suppress it. Let's take a look at what Pam Bondi had to say on May 7th, 2025, just a couple short months ago.
James Comer said yesterday that all the Epstein files are missing. Can you confirm that? They still haven't heard from you.
No, the FBI, they're reviewing, there are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child porn. And there are hundreds of victims. And no one victim will ever get released. It's just the volume, and that's what they're going through right now. The FBI is diligently going through that. I haven't seen that statement.
Tens of thousands of files with Jeffrey Epstein, with children and child porn, also hundreds of victims, also dozens of victims who have gone on the record and have testified in civil cases and criminal cases about Johns, about the men that Jeffrey Epstein trafficked them to. Hundreds of victims that you think Jeffrey Epstein abused himself? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So this is a joke. You are being gaslit. This is a cover-up. It likely implicates Donald Trump because there would be no other reason for Donald Trump to be so invested in closing this case and shutting this down. It likely also implicates high-level donors. We know from our interview with Tom Massey just a week ago that there are billion-dollar donors that are pushing to close down this Epstein investigation. In fact, Tom Massey is one vote away from his discharge petition moving forward, which would force a vote on a law to release all of the Epstein documents. That's something that you can do today. You can call your representative in the House of Representatives and demand that they sign Tom Massey's discharge petition and support the legislation that will force, by law, the opening of all of these files. This is outrageous. From the empty binders to the statements from the president saying that this is now all just a Democrat fraud. Come on, guys. We're not that dumb. We're not that dumb. This is a cover-up, and it looks as if they are trying to protect Trump. And oh, by the way, as I mentioned, the administration, the FBI, Kash Patel, he's doing a bad enough job as it is, just released the most ridiculous letter from the assassin, correspondence between the Charlie Kirk assassin and his tranny lover, using that as evidence of his confession of guilt after the Kirk shooting. It's outrageously absurd. Yet with a straight face, I checked all of the headlines today, New York Times included. They are taking this piece of garbage seriously. And so we are going to do a dramatic reading. Ed, my producer, who is producing the Shannon Joy Show, is going to help me out a little bit later in the program, just so you can get the full essence of the tortured lovers and their exchange after the assassin admitted that he took out Charlie Kirk. It's outrageous. I don't think anyone believes at this point that this guy, this tranny guy, this LGBTQ guy actually was the killer. We don't really know what happens. I'm not going down that rabbit hole. I'm not wasting my time trying to figure out the hundreds of ways our government has lied to us over the past week about what happened in Salt Lake City, Utah. Right? All you need to know and all we need to know is that they're lying to us and that this is ridiculous and that they're using Charlie Kirk's dead body. They are trampling on his legacy. They're using him to expand their power, to crack down on free speech, which we just saw yesterday, to raise money, hundreds of millions of dollars, and to seize his apparatus, right? Who is in control of Turning Point USA? Who is seizing the platform that Charlie Kirk built along with his billionaire donors over the past 20 years? That's what we really need to be scrutinizing. And so they are going to use your emotions. They are going to play your emotions. They are going to do everything they possibly can to distract you as they consolidate more power. And thank you, Jesus. The response to President Trump and Pam Bondi yesterday saying that they were going to shut down hate speech and round up anyone who was mean to Donald Trump or who said something mean about Kirk, that there's no such thing as hate speech. Rand Paul even coming out and saying outrageously that there isn't free speech in the United States of America. If we can run that clip really quick. He said this yesterday. Rand Paul, the son of Ron Paul, actually said this yesterday, which just shows you how far Donald Trump and his administration and MAGA has dragged the conservative constitutionalist party that was the underpinning of the Republican Party to the left. When Rand Paul, of all people, says this, you know that there's a problem. Go ahead and roll the tape.
I was assaulted 6-7 years ago, attacked from behind, had 6 ribs broken and part of my lung removed, and still online on a daily basis people say they wish that it would happen to me all over again. And by sort of making light of what I suffered, they are encouraging other people to do it. And really, that ought to be taken down, and social media ought to be able to take that down. If people are saying this in their workplace, people say, oh, people have a right to say things. Well, actually, they don't necessarily have a right to say things. Many people have in their contract what we call a moral clause to their contract, or a conduct clause. My guess is you have something in your contract that says you have to behave in a certain way in public. Most people do. If you're in the military, you have a conduct code that you have to adhere to in your speech and the way you present yourself to the public. So I think it is time for this to be a crackdown on people. And like I say, it's perfectly legal and legitimate, particularly if it's part of the contract process.
That's right. And you know, it's unbelievable.
Outrageous. You can turn it off. Outrageous. Outrageous. So people don't have the right to say things. That came from the mouth of Rand Paul. And yes, it is horrifying when people are attacked violently. It is horrifying when violence happens. We should all condemn that in every way, shape, or form, political violence, any type of violence for that matter. But absolutely false, Rand Paul. People do have the right to say things. In fact, people have the right to say vile, horrifying, terrible, terrible things from a place of absolute hatred. I know that this is hard for people to understand right now, but that is the essence of free speech. And no, we don't need a crackdown. Now, he tries to distract you with, well, companies can do this and companies can do that. And that's obvious, Rand Paul, that companies have discretion, that people who are public figures cannot go off and say anything they want at any time if they are working for a certain corporation. And that can happen in the private sector. But that's not what we're talking about, Rand Paul. You have the DOJ coming out saying that they're going to hunt down people and cast a wide net, right, for people who agitate, people who say nasty things about the Charlie Kirk assassination. You have Donald Trump threatening on live television, journalists, threatening them, saying that he was going to use the administration to come after them because they're mean to him. You have Donald Trump now suing multiple news organizations, including the New York Times, right? Using the full weight and power of the presidency, which, by the way, is also the United States government. It's the CIA, the FBI, and the military. You also have a piece of legislation, two pieces of legislation, one being pushed by Marco Rubio and one being pushed by Republicans out of Florida. The Charlie Kirk Free Speech Act of 2025, Rand Paul. What do you have to say about that? It sets up censorship boards. It sets up speech control boards, and it inflicts major penalties on social media platforms and also print platforms for peddling lies, right? Or not telling the truth. Well, who determines what the truth is? The language in that bill is terrifyingly vague. And yet Rand Paul has nothing to say about that. Come on, people. Come on, people. You know, I decided to test out, I'm so glad. The reaction to Pam Bondi and Trump and this push from people like Rand Paul to crack down on free speech was shut down hardcore yesterday on Twitter. Many, many major voices standing up, speaking out, saying, oh, hell no, this is not what we voted for. We feel very badly about what happened to Charlie Kirk. It was outrageous, atrocious, horrifying. But no, you do not have the right to use that and to manipulate people into legalizing censorship in the United States of America in a way that Biden and Obama never tried to do. So I decided, I thought that we should maybe, the key here, what we need to do is stand up and speak out and say, oh, hell no. This is total BS, and we are going to say what we need to say. So I thought yesterday, posted this out on Twitter, that we could give Donald's thought police a little twirl, right? Okay, so let's just try it out, okay? Hey, fat boy. Hey, Donald Trump, and this is what I wrote. In my opinion, you are a malignant, narcissistic sociopath who cries like a big fat baby when anyone ever criticizes you. I also think that you should be arrested and tried for crimes against humanity for the democide committed by your government and your administration against Americans during the 2020 lockdowns. The democide that occurred on COVID floors in hospitals, the democide that occurred from COVID protocols that you put in place, that you elevated through Fauci, the democide that happened in nursing homes when the elderly people of America were tormented to death, who died of broken hearts in total isolation from their families, the democide that was committed against this nation in the rollout of the poison shot, which is a bioweapon. Is that too mean for you, Donald Trump? Are you going to sick Pam Bondi on me now? Are you going to sick the government on me now for exercising that free speech? I think you should be in prison. You should be tried. And we as Americans must be able to say these things about our politicians. We must be able to critique them in the harshest terms possible. And so that's all I have to say about that. So you're going to arrest me? Come get me. And I would encourage every American to step out today and exercise your free speech. And that means saying things that might make people uncomfortable or might make them mad or might make them angry with you. But we need to say those against the people who have the power, because those are the people who shut us down. And if more Americans stand up and speak out, they can't arrest all of us. Can. So there we go. I just had to get that off my chest. It wasn't on my agenda, but I had to get it off my chest. We're going to go to break in just a little bit, but I do want to take a moment to thank our sponsors. We are going to say hello to all of you on the live chat. You guys look amazing. I see you, Fez Woody. I see you. We are all dead. Yes, Fez Woody, Kirk's paymasters. This is tragic. Charlie Kirk's paymasters are the ones turning him into a saint to distract from his change of heart about Israel, potentially. They're also the ones who are taking over his platform as well. Zoe Joey 123. So good to see you on the live chat. You're brand new. I love seeing new commenters on the live chat. Strident Conservative, David Leach, I was wondering about you. We're featuring your story today. Mourn Charlie Kirk, but don't let Trump, MAGA, and the right turn him into a martyr. I agree with you 100%. Wow, here we go. David Leach, my Twitter account was suspended yesterday for unusual activity after I spent the day on Twitter calling out liars and frauds. You got it back today. Wow, Strident Conservative. We're going to have you in. Maybe you can join me tomorrow on the show because I do want to go over your piece here. This is linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. I don't know if you can see the headline. Mourn Charlie Kirk, but do not let Trump, MAGA, and conservatives turn him into a martyr. This is a phenomenal piece. We're going to get to as much of it as we possibly can. It's linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. We have a couple other things to get to as well, including our dramatic reading of this utterly outrageous. Are you guys buying the confession texts between the Charlie Kirk assassin and his tranny lover? Are you buying it? Well, we're going to read them here. Ed's going to help me out. But first, I do want to go to our sponsors, and also we're going to go to a quick break before we come back. But let's talk about Vive Biotics. I have been using Vive Biotics now for the past few weeks, and I love this product. I'm starting to take care of my gut health. And as you know, everyone is talking about gut health, how important your gut is in terms of your general health. It's basically everything. And I have a question for all of you. I mean, if you have been feeling bloated, if you have dealt with low energy, if you're feeling off in your gut, you're not alone. And this could be something that is impacting a lot of the health issues that you may have. It turns out your gut health is the master switch for so many things: digestion, immunity, and even your mood. So here's the crazy part about this. Most of us have way more bad bacteria in our gut than good bacteria, thanks to, obviously, processed foods, stress, and even things like tap water. So you have more of the bad stuff. I think it's like an 85-15 split. You're supposed to have 85% good, 15% bad. That's like the nice balance. But most people don't have that. So the imbalance can mess with your digestion. It can make you feel sluggish, and it can cause skin flare-ups and even impact your focus. It's like trying to run a city with 85% of the workers on strike. So this is why I've been using Vive Biotics from Perfect Origins. It's not your run-of-the-mill probiotic pill. It has 15 different probiotic strains plus prebiotics, and they've put them through a special fermentation process so they actually survive the stomach acid. And it makes it to your intestines where they can do the real work. Most of the products on the market don't make it past your stomach, right? Because your stomach's there to take care of those things. So this is going to help you restore your gut's natural 18-15 good to bad ratio. It can improve your digestion and boost your immune system, among other things. It's also vegan, dairy-free, and of course, non-GMO and gluten-free. And right now for the Joy audience, 25% off. So you're going to want to go to perfectorigins.com/SJS-VB. That's www.perfectorigins.com/SJS-VB. Now, I know that's a mouthful. We're going to pop that link up in the live chat and on the comment section here in the Shannon Joy Show so that you guys can take advantage of the exclusive 25% off special just for this audience. You have to use that promo code JOY. So go to that URL, use that promo code JOY, and support the sponsors that support the Shannon Joy Show. I'm using this. I love it. Feeling great. Peppy, of course. And I love that it's taking care of the bloat. So we're going to go to a quick break. When we come back, we are going to get into this outrageous letter, and we're going to do our dramatic reading. Are you buying? I want to hear from you in the live chat. Are you buying the confession texts that were released by the FBI, right? That I guess prove that, you know, the assassin of Charlie Kirk was actually the killer. We're going to take a look at those in a minute when we come back. But first, a quick break to acknowledge some of our sponsors. Keep it tuned right here on the Shannon Joy Show. We also love our partnership with our friends over at the Satellite Phone Store. In an emergency, whether it's a natural disaster, whether it's a government-inflicted pseudo-emergency, whatever it is, the more prepared you are, the better off you're going to be, and the better you're going to be able to make decisions for your family that will help you in the long term. And so Satellite Phone Store has been our one-stop shop at the Shannon Joy household for everything that we need to be prepared. Whether it is a solar panel or a generator, they have all sizes of generators that you can use in short term, long term, whether it's the Faraday collection, right? Protecting your devices from EMP, EMF, and also protecting your bodies from EMF radiation, 5G, 4G, 3G, you name it, all the Gs. They have the most extensive line of Faraday products, I think, on the market, and they are the highest quality Faraday you can get. From the blankets, the beanies, and the bags. They are always 10% off when you use the promo code JOY. So go to sat123.com/joy. That's sat123.com/joy. Always use that JOY promo code. It always works. And of course, They have the satellite phones. The best way for you to keep in touch with your loved ones when the lights go out. And as we have seen in recent news headlines, the lights are going out more and more. And as they are taxing our grid with this building of the techno digital gulag, they are using up more and more energy sources. And so many outlets are, I mean, you are seeing one story after another of predicted rolling brownouts, blackouts. This is coming. This is going to be a reality in the next 24 months because of the expansion of the technocracy and the data centers. And so this is when, I mean, we need to be prepared. That's why you need the satellite phones and all of these preparation materials. So sat123.com/joy. That is sat123.com/joy. Let's bring our good, of course, our sponsors, Colonial Metals Group. I had a conversation yesterday, very well-known, very brilliant economic analyst. And the situation here in the United States of America is dire. Despite what they're saying to you about the golden economy and the golden age here in the United States of America, everyone who knows everything understands that the wheels are falling off this jalopy of an economy. And this is why every American needs a gold and silver strategy, period. End of sentence. If you have waited, if you have delayed in talking to our friends over at Colonial Metals Group because you think you have some time, please reconsider. He was telling me that, and I'm going to get into what he told me, word on the street, but the big news is he's saying within the next couple months to the next 6 to 8 months, we are going to see what he said is a disastrous crash. I mean, worse than the real estate bubble, worse than the dot-com bubble, worse than the situation after the lockdowns of 2020. And it is going to it's going to sweep away so many people who are trusting the two political parties, investing in Bitcoin and putting all of their eggs in the Wall Street basket. You need to diversify, and the smart money is going into gold and silver, whether it's through a physical purchase, which you can do at Colonial Metals Group, or moving over a portion of your 401k or your IRA into a gold and silver backed, independent, self-directed IRA. It's what I have. It is so easy to set up. I didn't have a ton of money. I had a little extra. I set up my IRA through Colonial Metals Group, and now I'm contributing a couple $100 every single month. It's part of my retirement strategy, and it helps me diversify. This is not a recommendation or financial advice for all of you, but it's what I do. And I trust the folks over at Colonial Metals Group. Please do not delay. colonialmetalsgroup.com/joy, colonialmetalsgroup.com/joy, so that you can begin to learn how to diversify, how to protect your retirement and hedge against the corruption and the chaos and the economic catastrophe, which I believe is coming very quickly to the United States of America. Welcome back, everyone, to the Shannon Joy Show. Buckle up. In just about 10 minutes, we are going to be bringing in one of my favorites, Dr. Joe Sansone. He is a medical freedom warrior out of the great state of Florida. And we have updates for you on an appeal filed in the Netherlands case against Bill Gates, Albert Bourla, to allow witnesses and the public press to attend. So these are witnesses like Catherine Austin Fitts, Sasha Latipova, and also Dr. Joe Sansone. This is a case regarding crimes against humanity, seeking to establish that the COVID-19 shots were indeed bioweapons, that the rollout of the lockdowns and all of the COVID countermeasures, including the rollout of Operation Warp Speed and the COVID shots, were military operations, and that crimes against humanity were committed against a global population, not just in the Netherlands, but across the globe. This is a very important case, so important that the lead attorney has been arrested in the Netherlands. He has been held now without charge for many months. This case is being taken up with his counsel, his co-attorney. And so they are continuing to pursue this case. There is an appeal now to allow this testimony to happen. We're going to be keeping an eye on it. We're going to get an update from Dr. Joe Sansone in just about 10 minutes. So make sure that you keep it tuned here. We're also going to talk about COVID in general and the shots, his mission to pull these mRNA shots off the market. Lots of hearings happening on Capitol Hill, testimony from Susan Menares, who was recently fired by Bobby Kennedy Jr. over at HHS. Lots of, fiery rhetoric there. So we're going to take that apart with Dr. Joe as well. So keep it tuned here. But first, we are going to get to are you buying it? I asked that question before we went to commercial break here on the show. I'm asking of the live chat. By the way, the Rumble live chat is the best chat in the history of all chats. You guys are wonderful. Lots of new faces on the live chat today. I see you, CJP Rumble, Mark the Regan, Chronozone 777. You look amazing. Be my Valentine. And yeah, the question is, are you buying this this steamy exchange, right? It's out of a 1989 soap opera, the exchange between these two 19, 20-year-olds, right? It's the confession text that the FBI has released and that the majority of mainstream news media, left and right, has diligently reported. They're taking this seriously. I don't think anyone else in the country is, because it's outrageous. And so we're going to read those in just a minute. Thank you to Ed, my producer, who is going to play. I'm going to play the part of Robinson, the LGBTQ assassin. And Ed is going to play the part of his tranny lover, okay, the roommate. And so we're going to do that in a minute. Hopefully, so that you guys can see how ridiculous this is, But the question first is, are you buying it? Future Ez is with us on the live chat saying, no, not buying it. Be My Valentine has this to say: we can totally trust the FBI. LOL. Yeah, right. Exactly. Mark the Regan, tranny sniper assassins everywhere. They're lurking everywhere, guys. Watch out. The trannies are going to get you. Do you really believe? I mean, I don't think anyone is buying this. DG8 with a comment. Shannon, after COVID and the Epstein cover-up, I don't believe a word they say. Same DG8. Just assume, this is a good rule of thumb. This is politics 101. Just assume that they're lying to you all the time about everything. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Democrat, Republican, Biden, Trump, if it's coming out of the mouths of a politician or a government official from the federal level, just assume they're all lying, like right to your face. And they're laughing about it. They don't care. They know this is all a game. They know this is all theater, right? So I agree. Who else do we have here? Fez Woody with another comment. This is interesting. Apparently, the family of the accused shooter, Robinson, is not going along with the story. There were a lot of strange cars around the house days before this went down. Interesting. Again, I'm not going to go down this rabbit hole a whole lot because I just don't have time or interest. I don't, to try to figure out the million ways that they lie to us and how they pull these things off is like, it's a fool's errand, right? Because they're always lying to us. But that's interesting. That's very interesting. Anyone else here? Haha. Mav 2022, Sansone is a pit bull. Yes, he is. Dr. Sansone is so fun. Be My Valentine. Love this chat. Yes, this chat is the best. It is the best. You guys have a whole show going on the chat yourselves. Sometimes I get distracted by my own show chat. I'm trying to keep the show going and hit all my points. And then I'm reading the chat and I'm more interested in what you guys have to say than what I'm saying. So yeah, that's how you know it's a great Mark M. Garth Hilton, a public-private partnership between the FBI and Hallmark. The writing on this, yes, it is something that you might see on the Hallmark Channel. Not to denigrate the Hallmark Channel. I actually love the Hallmark Channel. It's very good, clean entertainment. And so we don't want to drag Hallmark into all of this. But let's bring in Ed, our amazing producer. Died suddenly to this audience, by the way, if you're watching on the Died Suddenly platform on the Twit. Thank you so much for being with us. I'd love to see your comments. We're also obviously broadcasting on Facebook, Substack, my Twitter channel, the Died Suddenly channel, and a bunch of other ones. So that's super fun. But Ed, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I guess we're reading the transcript, right? We're reading the transcript.
This is the confession letter, okay? So just to set this up, with a straight face, Kash Patel and the FBI released a series of texts between Robinson, the LGBTQ assassin, and his tranny lover roommate, who apparently he was in a relationship with at the time of the shooting. And this now has been dutifully reported on and pushed out on all the major news platforms. The right-wing news platforms like Fox News and Alex Jones and InfoWars and you name it, but also left-wing platforms as well, BBC, Reuters, the New York Times even. And they're taking this very seriously, right? This is the smoking gun. This is the confession letter, right, Ed? And so poor Ed, I dragged him into this to play the role of the tranny lover. I'm going to play the role of Robinson. And this is this is what they released. And this is what we're supposed to believe. Okay. So these two guys are like 19, 20, they're college students, 19, 20 years old. Okay. And we're going to start with me. So after reading the note, so apparently Robinson sent a note. The roommate responded via text. What? Question mark, question mark, question mark. You're joking, right? Okay. So I'm Robinson. Ed, are you ready to play the role?
I'm ready.
You good? Okay. You're a tranny roommate that just got bad news. Are you ready?
Okay.
Get into position. Get into the role. I'm Robinson. Okay. The killer. I'm the killer. I'm still okay, my love, but I'm stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long, but until I come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I'm sorry to involve you.
You were the one who did it, right? You weren't the one who did it, right?
I am. I'm sorry.
I thought they caught the person.
No, they grabbed some crazy old dude and then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of the town got locked down. It's quiet. It's almost quiet enough to get out, but there's one vehicle lingering.
Why?
Why did I do it?
Yeah.
I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I'm able to grab the rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it.
How long have you been planning this?
Ed, a bit over a week, I believe, my love. I can get close to it, but there is a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it. End scene. There's more. But that...
Ridiculous. The whole thing is ridiculous.
I am thinking about my 19-year-old son who is a sophomore at university and the way that he communicates on text. And I'm like, they don't use capitalization. They don't use punctuation. They don't use apostrophes or full sentences. They don't use subjects and predicates and any type of grammatical order. Like they communicate in emojis and like with misspellings. This is the most absurd. And they don't even talk this way. This is, I mean, what else does he have here? He goes, delete this exchange. My dad wants photos of the rifle. He says grandpa wants to know who has it. I mean, I'm going to turn myself in willingly. One of my neighbors here is a deputy for the sheriff. You are all I worry about, my love. I am so much more worried about you. Don't talk to the media, please. Don't take interviews or make any comments. If any police ask you questions, ask for a lawyer and stay silent. Like, this is just absurd. and real reporters on real news outlets like the New York Times and Fox News and real politicians are taking this shit seriously. I can't even. Calgon, take me away. I cannot even. Like, is anyone sane out there? Am I crazy to look at this and say this is absolutely, positively not the exchange between these two guys? Like, and this is all you need to know. This is why I tell you, do not worry about going down the rabbit hole and trying to figure out all the ways that they lied at you. Just know that it's all lies. And the only thing that we need to focus on, and this is why yesterday was beautiful. Yesterday was beautiful because we were focused. It's so many big names like Kim Iverson and Health Ranger Mike Adams and a whole host of others. We had statements from Tom Massey and a bunch of other medical freedom platforms. I think Brett Weinstein pushed out on this saying, oh, hell no, you're not going to use Charlie Kirk in this circus, right, of buffoonery to play with my emotions and convince us that you're going to lock down and begin to suppress free speech. Like, that's just not going to happen. And everyone pushed back. And guess what happened today? Pam Bondi, old blondie over there at the DOJ, is backing off. They're backing off, right? Now they're parsing. Oh, no, we didn't mean hate. We're not talking about hate speech. Okay, good. Don't ever say it again, and don't try this again, because we'll rage back out at you again. And see, that's how we have to negotiate these people, these vicious predators who are such liars. So Ed, you did a great job. I hate to put you, I know that you are a red-blooded American man, and that was very difficult for you to play the role of the tranny. But you were a good sport. You were a good sport.
It brought me joy. It brought me joy.
Right. And when anyone like Donald Trump tries to threaten a journalist or a reporter or a commentator or a news media outlet with taking them out for hate speech, feel free to tweet out to Donald Trump, hey, we know that you got a scalp reduction surgery in the 80s, and that's why your hair always looks so stupid. And by the way, you're bad at golf and you cheat at golf. And by the way, like, whatever you want to tell this president, okay? Like, it's time for us to put these people in their place. He's the president of the United States. He's not God and he's not Mussolini. He certainly isn't the tyrant that he would like to make himself out to be. So enough of it. All right. Slap it down and let's just get on with it today. All right. I got that off my chest. We are going to go to a quick break. Okay, Ed, thank you very much. You were the best. Joe Sansone is waiting in the wings. He's warming up in the bullpen. We're going to pivot now to COVID, the reckoning, the democide of 2020 and 21. The mRNA shots that are still killing people and still on the market. Thank you to Donald Trump and his administration. They've done nothing to take care of immunity and liability protection for pharmaceutical corporations. They've done nothing to ban government mandates or corporate mandates for medical interventions. They've done nothing to take the toxic, deadly mRNA shots off the shelf. And yeah, we're going to get a report card from Dr. Joe Sansone, also a report on that Netherlands case that is very important. By the way, keep it tuned right here at the bottom of the hour. Dr. Mary Talley Bowden will be picking up the Shannon Joy Show. Her show is On Call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. She has a blockbuster exclusive with the Dr. Peter McCullough, and they are calling out President Trump. Why are the mRNA shots still on the market? They are not pulling punches. You are not going to want to miss this interview. It's coming up in just about a half an hour right here on this platform as we hand this show over to the amazing Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. This is her weekly show on the SJS platforms. You're not going to want to miss that. So we're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll continue with the great Dr. Joe Sansone right here on the Shannon Joy Show. All of the Native Path products are simply amazing. In the Joy household, we use the Hydrate. We use the Native Path Complete Protein. We use, obviously, the Native Path Collagen. which is right now on sale, 45% off if you go to getnativepathcollagen.com/joy. And that's a limited time, but it is the cleanest, the best, the highest quality collagen on the market at the absolute lowest price point. This is why I love their products. In fact, devastatingly handsome Dr. Joy the other night, he uses everything, but every so often, if he plays volleyball, he will cramp up, or if he's doing some type of strenuous activity, he'll get these cramps. It's not very often, but middle of the night last week, I'm like in the bed next to him. All of a sudden he's like, oh my gosh, like screaming, yelling, like stiff as his board. His feet are out like completely straight. And apparently both of his legs cramped up. So I'm like, oh my gosh, like trying to like get him up and turn him around in the bed because he can't like bend his legs. And he goes to me, he goes, get me the Native Path Hydrate now. Get me the Native Path Hydrate, because it has the electrolytes in it. And so like I'm running downstairs and I'm mixing it up and I bring it up to him and it took care of it. But like that's how dependent the whole family is. My son has an entire box full of all of the stuff he's bringing back to college, and he wants to get his volleyball team on it because they're just great products. They deliver, they're clean, and the price points are absolutely perfect. So we love the team over at Native Path. Please go to their website, getnativepathcollagen.com right now. We know what collagen does for your hair, your nails, your skin, your joints. It addresses joint pain. And we know that as we age, we lose a lot of the production of collagen in our body. So this is why I use Native Path Collagen every single day in my coffee. Doesn't help with cramping, but they have the hydrate for that. Getnativepathcollagen.com/joy. I am absolutely blessed to be sponsored by this amazing product. This is a miracle. It is the Relief Band. I don't know if you guys have heard me talking about Relief Band. I have it here. I brought it with me. I don't know if you can see it. This is nothing short of a miracle. I have told you all about my daughter, Mimi, and her chronic car sickness since she was a tiny little baby. My poor darling Mimi, every time she got into the car, if she was in for more than 15 or 20 minutes, would get so sick. I think she probably threw up in my car over 200 times from the time she was a year old till she was 4 years old, until she got a little bit older. But even persisting into her teens, every time she gets into the car, if it's too long of an extended period of time, she gets so sick, nauseated, feels like she's going to throw up. And it's been constant. Well, we recently found Relief Band. They're sponsors of the Shannon Joy Show. And I used this with Mimi for our trip to New York City. And it was nothing short of a miracle for nausea, migraines, headaches, morning sickness. If you have a loved one who is pregnant and just suffering with morning sickness, people who are struggling with illness and nausea from chemotherapy, this absolutely tackles it. It's an amazing, patented, clinically proven, FDA cleared technology. And basically how it works, I won't go into it in detail, but this is the Relief Band. I don't know if you can see it, but it's just this little guy. And what you do is you take the gel, you put this gel right on your wrist. You put the Relief Band on your wrist, right? And it sends this little pulse, like this little shock, right, into your wrist. And it essentially, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's magic. We'll get into the science of it in another read. But basically, it sends a signal to your brain. Then it signals to the stomach to reduce nausea and provides immediate relief. It is an amazing, I did not think that this was going to work. They sent it to us. I'm like, there's no way that this thing is going to work. It was a miracle. 6 hours that Mimi spent in the car on our trip without even a smidgen of nausea or headache. It was an absolute miracle. And right now, the Relief Band is 20% off for the Joy audience. So if you are interested, reliefband.com. That's reliefband.com. 20% off with the JOY promo code. And they're going to send you free shipping as well. This is an amazing device. I cannot recommend it enough, especially for people who have dealt with chronic nausea and headaches. Thank you to our friends over at Relief Band. Again, the website, reliefband.com. That's reliefband.com. Promo code JOY for 20% off. To the Shannon Joy Show, we're going to bring in that Relief Band works, by the way. It's, amazing. Amazing. I love it. I'm going to give it to my dad. He has Meniere's disease, dizziness. I'm going to let him try it as well. I'll let you know how that works out. We're going to bring Dr. Sansone in just a minute. But I do want to take a moment to talk to you guys about nitrous oxide. This is like a huge new topic, revolutionary studies in health. If you're wondering about what nitric oxide is, it's a signaling molecule that regulates blood flow. It's absolutely essential for the body and even helps the immune system by defending against pathogens, controlling immune cells, and coordinating immune responses. So why am I talking about nitrous oxide? Well, it is the key component of an amazing new product that I am using. It is Blood Flow 7, and it is an amazing complex. It's a botanical complex and nitrosygiene. It helps to boost nitric oxide production. It has resveratrol to support healthy blood flow, and bioweapons so that your body actually absorbs it, unlike most of off-the-shelf stuff that barely moves the needle. So the point here is to help your blood flow. Your blood is what delivers oxygen to every area in your body. This is, it impacts your brain, your lungs, all of your organs. And if you are deficient in NO, nitrous oxide, you're gonna feel it, right? So this is on sale right now for the Joy audience, 25% off plus shipping. It's 25% off plus shipping right now if you go to bloodflow7.com/Shannon. That is bloodflow7.com/Shannon if you want to try this. It is doctor formulated, scientifically backed. It has premium and natural ingredients, and over 4,500 people have given it 5-star reviews. This is a money back guarantee. You can send back an empty bottle if you don't like it, but 25% off. Get that blood flowing. It's going to make such an impact on your general health. So check it out today. It is bloodflow7.com/Shannon. Okay, there we go. We have done our due diligence with our amazing sponsors. So go ahead and check them out. I am now so pumped to welcome one of my favorite guests into the Joy virtual studio. Joe Sansone has been waiting very patiently. Joe, I'm sorry. We got a little bit off topic today, and so we're a little late bringing you in, but I'm just so glad. You are like a watchman on the tower, keeping an eye on everything, just diligently pursuing your mission. Number one, to get the truth and a reckoning regarding what happened in the dark days of 2020 with the COVID lockdowns, the democide, and the rollout of the toxic bioweapons, the mRNA shots. And you're also continuing to hold politicians' feet to the fire in terms of taking that mRNA technology off the shelf. We have hearings today that are being pushed out by Children's Health Defense and Highwire on Capitol Hill. We've had a series of hearings about these type of topics. You also are part of a very important civil case internationally in the Netherlands that is moving forward. So I'm really thrilled that you're with us to give us some updates and where you are at in terms of the report card on a reckoning for COVID. First and foremost, you can follow Joe Sansone on his Substack, which is linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show if you scroll down. Also follow him on Twitter as well. Dr. Joe, welcome to the show. Glad you're here.
Hey, Shannon. Thanks for having me on. First, I have to tell you that in case Ed's a method actor and he finds himself going into role, I'm here for you, Ed, pro bono. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
So,
did you like our dramatic reading?
That was good.
I'm not an actress. Everyone in Washington, D.C. is. They all are, right? We're not. We're amateurs here, Dr. Joe.
Yeah, what we're seeing coming out of D.C. is like the textbook limited hangout. We admit something's wrong. And then, and we saw that at HHS with Secretary Kennedy. He admitted the shots don't work. He said the risks outweigh the benefits, yet he didn't remove the shots off the market, which he can. He has the power to do it. Okay. And then he's saying that we're going to have clinical trials with placebo controls and this and that. He knows they're a bioweapon. Someone should introduce him to the guy that wrote that book, The Real Anthony Fauci. But this is all theater that we're seeing. Senator Rand Paul knows that these are a weapon. One of your guests, Dr. David Martin, has given him the information. He knows that they're, so Senator Rand Paul knows they're a weapon. And so this is just part of the dog and pony show. You want to create this false dichotomy as they're attacking Kennedy. So you go run to Kennedy's defense and the whole thing. It's just total mind manipulation. So it's very disappointing. One of the things, and I'll talk about my case and the case in the Netherlands too, and some of the stuff going on. But one of the things that I don't know if people realize is a very important scientific article came out in the Journal for American Physicians and Surgeons. The name of this article is COVID-19 Injections, Harms and Damages, a Non-Exhaustive Conclusion. I think this paper right here is part of the reason why Donald Trump came out with that post on Truth Social trying to reestablish plausible deniability with Operation Warp Speed. Because this journal article, I know for a fact his White House has seen it, this journal article, Dr. Andrew Zivjets is the lead author on it, but you have Dr. McCullough as an author, co-author, Dr. James Thorpe, Dr. Vila. You've got 11 co-authors on it, all very prominent people that have been published a lot. This article says that the virus and the vaccine violated the Biological Weapons Convention. That is why President Trump tried to reestablish plausible deniability, just in case. That's my view on that. This is such an important paper that needs to be all over the place, and that's why you know that a lot of the alternative media is fake too, because they're not covering this stuff. They don't want to touch the fact that these are weapons. When you have a peer-reviewed journal article, they're typically understated, and so when they're saying this is a weapon, they're saying like, we need blood right now because this is a horrible crime that's occurred. That's a paper that people need to look at. And there's 154 citations, and they've got even some of the preliminary research from Dr. Vila, who I mentioned last time we were on. And she's shown about 75% of the people. This is like I think there's like 1,000 people in her research, but like 75% of the people are showing autoimmune problems, and like 55% immune failure. So that's why you're going to see the cancers and different problems occurring, because as the immune system continues to weaken, you get all these disorders and disabilities popping up. And I think this is important research. I filed this research in my case as a supplemental authority. This is another news item that people are totally missing in our so-called alternative media too. About 2 weeks ago, when Surgeon General Ladapo came up there talking against the mandates, and so people understand what he did there. As the Florida Department of Health Surgeon General, he repealed some of the rules so that some of the mandates will go away, but they need legislation to get rid of the rest of them. And this is good because it's dealing with all vaccines. So like the kids going to school can't get mandated any shots or anything like that. Right. When you talk about mandates with the COVID shots or mRNA, that is a PSYOP. Now and honestly, a big part of that is a public relations thing for DeSantis, because he's thinking about running for president again. But what people missed in that statement, which should have been a really big news if we had like real journalism, is in that statement, and this is not on Tucker Carlson, not on the Shannon Joy Show. This is, I put you right up there with Tucker. This is in yeah, we got you covered. This is in his official capacity as Surgeon General of the state of Florida, with Appellee Ron DeSantis standing to his left. The Surgeon General of the state of Florida said that the COVID mRNA injections are poison. That is literally in the legal definition of Florida Statute 790.166, weapons of mass destruction. So I filed that transcript. Yes, I filed that transcript as a supplemental authority in my case, because that is legally significant. He's in his official capacity saying it is a poison. If you look under biological agents and chemical agents, they use the term poisonous in there. So he's literally thrown out the legal definition in the Florida statutes. And so the governor of the state of Florida has the power to take the shots off. He has the power to enforce Florida Statute 790.166, which is what my case is about. I'm trying to get an injunction based on largely on that statute. And so I think that's important stuff that people are totally missing. It's not that he's against the shots. He's saying they're poison. That's he may as well just say, bioweapon over here. Yeah.
This is where we get into bizarro world, this strange world that we live in today. Thank goodness we're moving towards the truth, which is the COVID shots were bioweapons. They were created in the United States of America, among other places. They were created by the United States military and the DOD. This was developed as Dave Martin has pushed out, in the 1990s by Ralph Barrick, right? But this has been a bipartisan initiative, and they have been deployed against the American people. And this, to your point, Joe Sansone, and you're right, two big pieces of news, which we'll be digging into next week. So thank you for alerting me to that. There's so many news headlines out there, Joe. It's like a fire hose in my face every day.
Well,
so
and
I'm
the fact that I filed,
I
was just going to say, and the fact that I filed that in my case, I filed his statement with the appellee, Ron DeSantis, standing to his left in my case. That in itself, like would be new. They'll cover some transgender person standing on a corner yelling, but they won't cover the fact that I just did that. That's actually pretty big news in a normal world.
It's the news. It's all the news. It positions our military in direct opposition of the American people. Not only are they lying to us and gaslighting us and fleecing us and stealing from us and driving our economy off a cliff, they are also killing us and injuring us through these shots. So that's a big deal. And we need to take care of that. And thank you for your work diligently continuing to push this out on your Substack. Guys, please support Dr. Joe Sansone. Linked in the show notes of the Shannon Joy Show. His Substack is right there. Also follow him on Twitter that you can support his efforts. So the Journal of American Physicians and Surgeons, the title of the piece, COVID-19 injections, cause harm and damages, mass harm and damages. And so that is a huge deal. Also, the statement from Joe Latipo. In addition, we also have Pam Bondi, and this was revealed by Dr. Kirk Moore, the hero plastic surgeon in Utah, who fake injected thousands of people, gave them fake vaccine cards, saved their lives. His case was thrown out in the interest of justice by DOJ Pam Bondi, but not for the right reasons. It was because in the course of that case, Dr. Sansone, it was revealed that the shots were created at the order of DOD, that DOD was involved. They were on site at all 6 campuses of Pfizer, Moderna, and other vaccine corporations that were pushing out the shots. And Palantir, through a contract with DOD, was managing all of the data and the information surrounding who got the shot, who didn't get the shot. And this all came out as part of the testimony on record in this court hearing. That's when Bondi swooped in and shut the case down. What are your thoughts on that? Because all of these, these 3 items that you just mentioned, including what happened in Utah, all point to this massive elephant in the room that this was a military campaign against we the people. But what are your thoughts on that aspect of this?
Well, Dr. Kirk Moore, he's a good guy. I've spoken with him, and he is a hero. I agree. When I think that they didn't want the discovery because more would come out, and they don't want this to get in front of a judge anyway. It's what I'm running into here. So, I mean, it worked in his favor for sure. But the reality is this is a massive depopulation campaign. Lifespans are shortened by as much as 37%. So it means a little infant getting a shot now will live to be 50. So there's a 37% reduction in lifespans. There's increased infant mortality, not just lower birth rates. You got increased infant mortality. And some of the studies coming out of there are showing it's not like just a woman getting a shot while they're pregnant. Let's say you got the shot and you get pregnant a year later, and there's a higher rate of infant mortality. So then we're looking at a potential epigenetic effect. So This is devastating. So you're shortening lifespans, you're reducing birth rates. Yeah, it was a global international criminal class. The same people that create the money out of thin air, the same people that run the world, that give the scripts to the heads of state. These people organized this. Unfortunately, we don't really know who the the Wizard of Oz is behind the curtain. But this was an international operation. It was an attack against the human race. These are weapons of mass destruction. And I think that, you've got a lot of arguments here. You've got, look, Dr. Francis Boyle, the law professor, wrote the 89 Bioweapons and Anti-Terrorism Act. In late 2020, before the shots came out, he was saying they were a bioweapon because COVID itself, with some gain of function research, it was an illegal offensive bioweapon, and the shots were a derivative of that. So right there, it's a weapon. And but here's how I want people to understand this really simple. I try to simplify things. Most people are going to die from these shots. They're going to have a shortened lifespan because of these injections. Doesn't mean they're going to die tomorrow or in 2 years, but the reality is if you give people chronic diseases, they will not live as long. And I joke around about my type 1 diabetes. The average lifespan is 15 years less. You throw in my heart condition, maybe I'll make it through the show, Shannon. But
you better.
If you have identical twins, that'd be good for your ratings if I keeled over in the middle of the show.
No.
Imagine the conspiracy theory there. If you have identical twins and you give one of them asthma, they're not going to live as long. So this isn't rocket science, science here. So I think that you got a product that's causing harm, disease, disability, and death. You knew it was harmful. Even the Kansas versus Pfizer case shows that they knew as early as December 2020. Obviously, the people who planned this knew it all along. And you're lying and saying it's safe and effective. There's different levels of intent. But and the reason I filed Secretary Kennedy's statement in my case is because it shows criminal intent, at least from that moment forward. Because you're saying the risks outweigh the benefits, and you're not taking it off the market. At least from that moment forward, it shows criminal intent. So you have what's called the knowingness standard versus specific intent. That might even be specific intent. But if you know this is harmful and you're not doing anything about it, you're rolling it out saying it's safe and effective. At a very minimum, that's the knowingness. So that's criminal intent. And it is, and you're right, by the way, that this is continuing to come out because recently the Florida Department of Health, not the Florida Department, the World Council for Health here in Florida did actually issue a statement declaring the mRNA nanoparticle injections to be biological and technological weapons of mass destruction, and they endorsed my bill. Right. And so I'm hoping to get introduced here in Florida too. But I think you're right. I think we're looking at people that do not have our best interest at heart. They're trying to minimize the damage.
What do you make of, and again, back to the bizarre nature of where we are today, Surgeon General of Florida admitting that the mRNA shots are poison, yet the mRNA shots are still in the market. Bobby Kennedy Jr., head of HHS, a hero and a champion for the medical freedom movement for 2 decades, acknowledging that the mRNA shots are poison and cause harm, right? Yet the mRNA shots are still on the market. You now have hearings, Rand Paul, everyone's hammering Susie Menares, right? She is the recently fired director of, I believe, CDC. And no one's remembering that Bobby Kennedy Jr. put her in the position in the first place. She already did all the dirty work, right? He had glowing statements about Susan Menares. We reported to you guys how bad Susan Menares was, but Bobby Kennedy Jr. brought her in, hired her, gave her free reign. They got everything, approved, right? The mRNA shots are still on the market. New mRNA shots are in production, and mRNA shots are also in production as well. And in addition, Jay Bhattacharya wrote a piece in the Washington Post saying that not only are we still doing all of that, even though we know they're poison, we're still going to promote them and push them out. We're also going to Operation Warp Speed, a new universal vaccine platform that will be rolled out, using the same tactics and techniques of Operation Warp Speed to distribute to the American people. So what do you want? People are confused. Is Bobby Kennedy Jr. a hero or a villain? A little of both. What I hear from the medical freedom community is he can't do this. The American people aren't ready. Trust the process. And I will say, Dr. Joe, that as someone who has been a medical freedom warrior for 12 years, I have never seen this much discourse. I haven't seen these type of hearings. I mean, the things that are being said, even, you know, if it's for the wrong reasons, right? President Trump coming out and saying all vaccines are poison, right? Like, it's to manipulate, distract, confuse, create chaos. We know that it's not for the right reasons. But at the same time, I'm glad it's happening. I mean, that shows some progress. How do you determine kind of where we are in this? Like, it's good and bad.
Yeah. So I'm just seeing how much time we got here. So the mixed messaging is deliberate because it gives people something to cling to, something, and so you'll ignore all the other stuff coming out, but you're gonna hang on to this item over here. And so, look, bottom line is, RFK Jr. has the power to pull the shots off the market just because they're harmful. The president of the United States has the power to pull the shots off the market. 18 U.S.C. 175, Chapter 10, biological weapons. In fact, Pam Bondi, it says specifically in that law, she can seek an injunction. In fact, it's her duty to do it because these are, in fact, weapons of mass destruction. Nobody's doing their job. I know we're up against the bottom of the hour, but I just want to quickly update on. So they're all full of crap, is your answer. I mean,
we're going to go later. By the way, Dr. Joe, hold tight. We're going to take you to 140. So you have another 15 minutes. I want to make sure you get a lot of time.
Yeah, so we'll talk about it. So yeah, I mean, they're doing stuff and they're moving a little along, but what they're doing is as little as possible because of the pressure that's behind them. And that's why my strategy has always been maximum pressure. Yeah, that's why I filed my case here in Florida against DeSantis, my second case, and I'm in the appellate court, and I don't know what they're going to do at this point because they're taking a lot longer this time. So I might actually get a written decision. But they're just full of crap. Now, whether they're being threatened, intimidated, whatever, but anybody telling you RFK Jr. can't do, no, he can stop the shots immediately, pull them off the market, say they're a weapon of mass destruction like you know they are, or even just say they're harmful, and then go explain afterward why you did it. That's how you do it, right?
That's how you do it.
Radio, you do it afterward and you ask for the, apologize later. But so pull them off the market, they're harmful. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And so, yeah, pull them off the market. That's his duty. Here's the thing. I'm like suing the governor, the attorney general of the state of Florida here to get the shots off the market because they're weapons of mass destruction. I'm not even suing for money. I'm just trying to get the injunction to get them off the market. I have a bill out there for all 50 U.S. states, been introduced in Minnesota. I'm trying to get introduced in other states. You can download it right off my website, josephsansone.com. Got a version for every. I actually have a version for that for 55 countries. All, Canada.
Wow.
I have a version for Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, and all 48 European countries. And so the reason I did that is because this requires you to do something. It's not going to happen unless you get involved. You start talking to your local state legislator and start getting them to introduce that bill. The bill is unique because it's the only piece of legislation that recognizes it's prohibiting the shots, but it's doing so because they're already illegal. All these other bills they're putting out there are giving them cover. No, these are already illegal. Someone should enforce the law. So the bill is saying these are already illegal, and it creates a criminal and civil liability if you don't act. If you're a governor, prosecutor, whoever, sheriff, and you can present the evidence and you don't act. And so that this is maximum pressure. The only little bit that they're doing right now is because of maximum pressure. This paper coming out that I just talked about, that's part of the maximum pressure. We have to keep coming at them at all angles. They will not do what we want them to do. They're all corrupt or cowards. Yes. I say cowards, corrupt, they're out of touch. But here in Florida, I know that DeSantis is not out of touch. So he's either coward or he's corrupt. Because if I were the governor of the state of Florida, I'd have the constitutional crisis with the federal government and say, screw you, you're murdering my people. That's what I would do. This isn't that complicated. This really isn't that complicated. If you're a man, you can't look the other way. Honestly, if you're a woman, you shouldn't be looking the other way. They're killing your family members. They're trying to get you wrapped up into this alternate reality, which we're seeing a little bit on the people's responses to the Charlie Kirk thing. But we're like, they want you to believe in this alternate reality where the people you know and love aren't getting cancer, they aren't getting neurological problems, they aren't getting heart problems. That's BS. It's not normal to have EKGs in high schools. This is so. don't look the other way. You have an obligation. You have a moral obligation. If you're a professional, you've got an ethical and legal obligation to do something. As a therapist, I'm just doing I'm doing what I'm ethically should be doing. You're murdering people.
Yeah.
Literally.
Well, and you're doing so much. Again, josephsansone.com, josephsansone.com. You have a bill that people could use in all 50 states. He's also bringing this legislation. He has introduced it repeatedly in the state of Florida. And I really applaud you for, I like the state of Florida. I like Joe Latipo and Governor Ron DeSantis because they have done more than any other executive branch on the face of the planet. But you're not wrong. There is more that they must do.
But here's what I ask you. Why did they do more? Why did DeSantis do more? Because he had pressure coming from the bottom to do more.
That's it.
That's why it happened to begin with.
There is, I heard a story about, in terms of, sending Bobby to HHS, and I was opposed to it. I said, he's going to go to HHS and get ruined. He can do a lot more damage from the outside, but that was just my opinion. But, someone told me, once he gets into HHS, he's part of the problem. He's part of the system, right? Once they become a governor, a surgeon general, the director of HHS, they then become, even if you like them, they become your enemy, right? In a very friendly battle of forcing them to do it. They don't understand anything but pain, right? So being friendly to Bobby, helping Bobby message, keeping an eye, engaging in the kabuki theater to try to help Bobby doesn't help Bobby. Bobby needs to be able to go to his handlers and say, I've got to do this because my base is about to revolt. Pharma doesn't play nice. Big tech doesn't play nice. They don't ask nicely and trust the plan. They want results. They want to get things done. And you have to imagine Bobby sitting right here, big pharma, big tech, big money, big banksters, the entire government system pressuring him every day. If he doesn't get any pressure from the other side, that is we the people, and again, not being nice, being kind of mean sometimes, right? Then he's just going to get dragged in that direction. And so you're absolutely right. The same goes for DeSantis and Latipo. They're going to take the path of least resistance because it's the easiest, but it's the job of we the people to yank them back. Am I getting what you're trying to say here, Joe, with that explanation?
Yeah, I'm saying get at the stick and beat them until they do what you want them to do.
Yes.
Yeah, you're saying it exactly. Because
let's go.
The thing is that
rhetorically speaking,
I read an article about this. I just, you can say that. But I got
no violence. I don't want Pam Bondi coming after you. Pam Bondi.
Pam,
she's ready to swoop down. She's going to get you.
Pam Bondi should be removed. Pam Bondi should be removed because she hasn't done an injunction under 18 U.S.C. 175, Chapter 10. So these people are, their fear is guiding them. The politicians won't do anything until they fear us more than their masters, than our rulers, the people behind the scenes that run our government. But and here's what I did is I didn't only just file that in my case. I did write an article about this. Bobby Kennedy is going to get prosecuted in the future if he doesn't take these shots off the market. He created criminal intent. He's an attorney. He should know this. He said in his official capacity, basically the federal government has admitted these shots, the risk outweigh the benefits, and there's no prophylactic effect. So by keeping them on the market, they're willingly murdering innocent people. RFK Jr. is complicit from that moment forward. He needs to take the shots off the market so 10 years from now, he doesn't get prosecuted when everybody realizes why their family members are dying.
We do really want the rats to scurry. No, we do. We want the rats to scurry. We want them to, that is the calculus that you want to be going on in every mind of every politician is that, wow, the people are waking up and they're not giving up and they're not falling for our psyops anymore. And they know what's going on. And whoa, I might get in trouble for this. Like you want that doubt to creep into these politicians. And like the politicians they are, and they've already begun to do it. This is why Rand Paul's up on Capitol Hill talking about the vaccines. And this is why Donald Trump puts out his little Truth Social post saying that all vaccines are poison. It's because we're winning. It's because we, the people, are pushing back. We're shoving them into a corner. And people like you, Joe Sansone, are the reason for that. This is why I love you. This is why all of you guys should be supporting Dr. Joe Sansone. Go to his website, give him money, support his bills, help him continue to work on this, because you're aligned with great people. Can you tell me about the Netherlands and your, unless there's something else you want to get to before we get to Netherlands? But
yeah, let's get that, because I think we only got like 5 or so minutes here. So yeah, in the Netherlands case, my involvement with that was only that, I was in contact with the attorneys there like maybe over a year ago. And I shared a bunch of stuff from my case with them. And then I had arranged for Dr. Francis Boyle to testify with them. And nobody knew about that, by the way. The only people who knew were the attorneys, myself, and Dr. Boyle. So that was going to be a big surprise. And 3 weeks after he agreed to testify to it, he died. I think, for all I know, it was natural causes. He went to the hospital, he was sick, and he died. I haven't heard anything else-wise. I know people were speculating on it, but the court didn't know he was going to testify yet. Now, it's true, the phone calls and emails and everything, you're just showing text, so everything's monitored by the NSA. So, yeah, it's plausible that there was foul play, but as far as I know, not that I'm aware of. But so anyway, he was going to testify in that case. Then after he died, witnesses for the case that they were going to have were going to be me, Catherine Austin Fitz, Sasha Latapova, Catherine Watt, and Dr. Michael Yeadon. We're all supposed to be witnesses in this case. What the case is it's a civil case. Bill Gates is a defendant. Albert Bourla of Pfizer is a defendant. The Secretary of NATO is a defendant. So you have there's a bunch of high-profile defendants in the case. It's a civil case. It's a lawsuit. They've got victims that they're representing. My case is a civil case, but I'm not suing for money. I'm just trying to get the injunction. So they're trying to sue for damages, but it's still really important, because if the court says, yeah, you're going to win this amount of money because these are, in fact, a weapon, prosecutions are going to have to follow in some form or fashion. If any remember, part of this whole strategy that I've been doing is try to get a jurisdiction somewhere to actually enforce the law and say, yeah, these are weapons. So what happened was on August 20th, the court in the Netherlands, they denied the witnesses, and they didn't allow press or media. And so just yesterday or the day before, I think I posted it yesterday, but the court, it might have been from the day before though, but the Peter Stassen, the attorney in this case, filed an appeal. And the appeal is, to get the witnesses to be able to testify, and also to allow press and public at the court hearings, including uncredentialed press. So they want press attention at the proceedings, because this is of more public interest than anything. Most of the planet has been poisoned, so this is really important. So hopefully they'll win on this appeal. But so people understand, though, this case is going forward. They passed the initial dismissal, as opposed to my case. The judge just erroneously dismissed it. Like, procedurally, it's an error. I should win on that, but who the heck knows? But I mean, they made it through that initial hurdle, so the case is moving forward.
Yeah, that's huge.
That was back in October.
So now,
that happened.
You're right. So the case is moving forward, and what they're asking for now is to allow the testimony of Dr. Sansone, Catherine Austin Fitz, Catherine Watt, Sasha Latapova, and Yeadon, which, by the way, blockbuster lineup for testimony, and also to allow press. So that is huge. Now, it's important to note that the attorney that you mentioned is the co-attorney. The lead attorney, Dr. Sansone,
the media's kind of got that. It's a little nuanced, but they were co-counsel. Peter Stassen, my understanding is he's the one that actually wrote all the briefs. They worked together. Okay. He's the one that actually wrote them up. And I'm not sure what the arrest with the other attorney, the timing of it is certainly suspicious, but, there might be
no
other
charges
things involved.
We're holding off right now with that, in like really looking into it. But as of this moment, I believe there have been no charges, and he's been in prison for many months, many weeks, which is suspect, right?
There's something's going on there for sure. But I mean, I don't think the current attorney is in danger in any way. Like, I don't think he's going to get arrested or anything like that. But I've been wrong before.
Sure.
But this is a big case here. But I encourage people to file more cases. Don't tell people, don't listen to people saying you can't file a case. If Shannon came to me and I was an attorney, which I'm not, I just pretend to be one in my case. But I mean, if Shannon came to me with a case, what I would do is I'd get together with the other attorneys in the office and we'd come up with a legal angle to argue her case. So they're telling you can't sue, you can't do that. Just cases should be filed all over the place. Maximum pressure.
Just do it anyway. Maximum pressure. And that is, I think, the parting words from the amazing, super fun Dr. Joe Sansone. I always appreciate when you come in. I wish I had more time with you. Maximum pressure, relentless pressure. We have not gotten a reckoning on COVID atrocities and the COVID democide. We can't even get these people to acknowledge publicly in any real fashion that these mRNA shots are bioweapons, even though they have acknowledged a few times in very critical arenas. So Joe Sansone is one of the guys at the tip of the spear on this. Please support him. His website is josephsansone.com. That is josephsansone.com. And his Substack is amazing. Also follow him on Twitter and give him support. There are very few of us out here. Most people are, taking victory laps and raising money and, doing the fan dance with Bobby Kennedy Jr. They're not doing the hard work, and we need to continue with this. Right, Joe?
Yeah. And remember, the World Council for Health here in Florida is the only health freedom organization that's had the guts to say it is a weapon. Remember that, too.
The World
Shannon, you're
Council.
the best. Ed, I'm here for you. Ed, I'm here for you.
You're the best, and I'm here for you, and we're going to keep in touch. You know that you can text me or call me anytime. You need a platform. You need to get something out there. This is going to be a platform for, okay, all right. Not already, Joe, you want to come on tomorrow? You want to come on tomorrow? We need to talk. I need to get you on to talk about trauma-based mind control. He's a psychologist, by the way. So he gets like conditioning and hypnosis and like how they get we the people to do stupid things and buy into their tactics. So I should have you on next week actually to do like a deep dive in that because it's really interesting. But yeah, anytime, Joe. Okay.
Thank you. You're the best.
All right. You're the best too. And you guys are the best. Thank you guys for being with me today on the Shannon Joy Show. Thank you to Ed and the amazing team over at Died Suddenly. They are producing the Shannon Joy Show today. Thank you to all of our sponsors. You've heard from Colonial Metals Group and the Satellite Phone Store and Vive Biotics and Relief Band and our friends over at Blood Flow 7. If you are in the market for any of the products or services that we talked about today on the Shannon Joy Show, please know that we are completely independent. I can't bring the show to you every day without your patronage of our valuable sponsors. So it's a favor to me, but it's also a great product. I only find the best. I like to pat myself on the back for that. And we do have great partners. So if you're in the market for any of their products or services, please patronize them. It helps us to keep the lights on here at the Shannon Joy Show. To everyone in the live chat, I love seeing all of you. Mr. Worthless Eater, Green Tea 369, Scott Gordon, thank you so much. Appreciate you. CJP Rumble, friggin' Joe, you rock. Joe Sansone rocks, especially when you get him going. Like you didn't even see the whole Joe Sansone. He is amazing. Really one of my very favorites. Yes, it is time for Mary Talley Bowden. You guys are going to love this interview. As you know, Mary Talley Bowden, the live with On Call with Dr. Mary Talley Bowden is a collaboration between myself and Dr. Bowden. Airs every Wednesday live on all of the SJ platforms. So right here on Rumble, all of my Twitter platforms, the Died Suddenly platform, Substack, Facebook, YouTube, you name it, and it's available on podcasts. We're also blasting this out to Dr. Mary Talley Bowden's enormous Twitter audience. So without further ado, she is going to take up the reins. We are not going to do the collaboration, like the crossover today, because she has some other things going on, but she does have this unbelievable interview with Dr. Peter McCullough that you guys do not want to miss. So thank you guys so much. Travis Cutt, thank you so much for that $20 contribution, all in purple. Appreciate you so much. Zoe Joey 123, thanks Shannon, loved the show. Zoe Joey, come back every day. I'm live every day, Monday through Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern time. till about 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. And we're going to have a fun show tomorrow. All right, guys, thank you so much for being with us. We will be back tomorrow to do it all again right here on the Shannon Joy Show. Okay, so you want me to It's me, Shannon Joy, not Dr. Mary Talley Bowden. We are going to launch right into her show. This is a pre-recorded interview that we are going to be running live on all of my platforms that Dr. Bowden did with the Dr. Peter McCullough. You do not want to miss this interview. It is time that we in the medical freedom community hold the people that we put in power in Washington, D.C. accountable. It is time for them to pull the mRNA shots. And I'm very thankful for the tireless work by Dr. Mary Talley Bowden and also Dr. Peter McCullough in this area. Without further ado, we are going to run this very important interview. We are so thankful for the audience over on Twitter, died suddenly. Of course, we're platforming on Substack, Facebook, Rumble, as well as Dr. Mary Talley Bowden's massive, massive Twitter following. So without further ado, we're going to bring that interview to you. Keep it tuned right here.
Thanks for joining me today. I am honored to have Dr. Peter McCullough, world-renowned cardiologist. He has a new book out, Vaccines, Mythology, Ideology, and Reality, that I'd love to talk to him about. Oh, there we go. Yes. And Dr. McCullough, whenever I have a question about the science, he's my source. So whenever I need to see what the latest research is, I go on X and I find him. I find his account, or I find his research assistant, Nick Holsch. I'm not going to say it right. Nick's account. You can probably tell me how to say that. But he's going to give us an update today on what's the latest in the research realm of these COVID shots, what he's seen. Welcome, Peter. I'm so excited to have you here. How are you?
Well, thank you, Dr. Bowden. I'm so honored to join the program. Dr. Peter McCullough here in Dallas, Texas. Now, the McCullough Foundation studio is actually officially built. I'm broadcasting from it. It doesn't really compare to the palatial MD Breathe studios in Houston, but I saw a video of your new office. Looks fantastic. Your patients are so blessed to have you. In fact, we share some patients together. I get universally incredible feedback about what you're doing for them. And, I just finished with a patient. I should just tell you about this patient who is a wonderful young man. He has hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, a thickness of his heart that can be dangerous. He's had an ICD put in. This all happened about 10 years ago. He just got married, went to Oklahoma University, and then was actually going to seminary. Just got married. He's in his middle 20s. And you know what? He took 2 Moderna vaccines in 2021. The mistake of his life. And he's developed myopericarditis, or inflammation of the heart muscle. He's predisposed to this hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. He's developed hypothyroidism and then testicular cancer of one of his testicles, and he's needed an orchiectomy. Fortunately, no chemo or radiation. That's just a typical patient in my day. So I'm fielding like you, I'm feeling multiple complications that we believe are attributable to the COVID-19 vaccines.
Right. I mean, that's why I get so exercised. As one doctor put it, Dr. Malone said I was going off the rails. But it's because I see it every day. It's in my office. It's like I'm continuously reminded of what's going on. And it's just incredibly frustrating that no one is doing anything about it. I mean, there are definitely cracks in the dam, as we have seen on X this week. President Trump keeps kind of giving us, breadcrumbs. I don't know if you saw the post today on Truth Social, where he just said they're all poison, all the vaccines. Did you have a chance to see that yet?
I don't know if that was legit. It looks like that was somebody maybe got into his account and retweeted something. But, we did provide commentary about this very kind of chaotic tweet that came out last weekend. He said, well, some people say the vaccines are good. Some say they're bad. I think I'll ask Pfizer to tell me the truth. Right. And, we responded to that officially saying, listen, Senator Ron Johnson has held hearings. You and I have been expert witnesses at these hearings. On the House side, Marjorie Taylor Greene has held hearings all on vaccine safety. He should get debriefed by Johnson and Greene and catch up with what's gone on in the House and the Senate. I mean, there's just kind of standard processes in Washington. You and I, as citizens, shouldn't have to remind the executive branch and the House and the Senate on how to do business. But yet here we are in this time of great madness.
Well, I keep going back to the fact that when you look at how many people got the last version of the COVID shot, so last season's COVID shot, the uptake was dismal. About 15% of adults, 12% of children got those shots. And it was so dismal that the CDC decided to take the information down from their website because they don't want everybody to know that. Because I was tracking it and I was looking at it very closely, and then poof, it disappeared. But that should tell these people, tell these officials, the people that we elected to represent us, that's how the Americans feel. That's how we feel. That's how much trust we have in what our public health agencies are telling us. I mean, the uptake of the COVID shot is just a parameter for how the people feel. And that's what should matter, the people, not the New York Times, not these unhinged senators that we saw a couple of days ago going off on Robert Kennedy. I mean, do you still see people getting these COVID shots? I mean, I'm sure you don't. I don't, but I actually see people continuing to get flu shots and shingle shots and those sorts of things, which is shocking to me. But I've not seen anybody get COVID shots. Hopefully you're not either.
No, I'm not. There's no one in my circles. And I think if they were keeping up on it, it would be nearly 10 injections. And I was also tracking the CDC data, which I think were in arrears. Most recently, the CDC has given up reporting actual numbers of who got the shots. And now they're doing a survey. And so they just ask people, hey, do you think you're going to get a shot this year? Or did you get a shot? So they have backed away from primary reporting. I think more importantly, the CDC has not released the vaccine administration data to anyone. Right. Now, this is a public use data set. We should all be able to have access to it. We should be able to link it to the cancer registries, to the National Death Index, to the National Center for Health Statistics. I mean, this is our CDC under a brand new administration, a brand new HHS director, still being, completely non-transparent about who's received the vaccine. I actually would wager that it's way less than 5% are even taking boosters. It may be less than 1%. And you're right. The uptake of the vaccine is a proxy for the public's trust and interest in this. A lot of people just think COVID's over with. They're back to normal for years now. Why would they, go and take another booster? And the President Trump, if he has a skill set that has led him to where he is, it's reading public sentiment.
Right.
So why can't Trump read public sentiment? Why is Trump so perfectly aligned with Biden on these COVID vaccines? If he wants to really separate himself, he could step up to the plate and give the order to Kennedy. And Kennedy can give the order to Macri to say, listen, pull these off the market. It shouldn't take a president to even make that call. It's not a presidential decision. It actually occurs at the level of the FDA commissioner. If I was any one of those three positions, I would have pulled these off the market in January of 2021. But I certainly wouldn't let it go on 4 years through Biden and now nearly a year through the new administration.
I agree. I mean, I don't know who deserves the most blame for these shots persisting on the market, if it's Macari or Kennedy or Trump. I mean, people say, well, you know, Macari and Kennedy, they can't go against Trump. They'll lose their jobs. Well, I know you and I would be willing to take that risk, right? To do the right thing. We would.
Well, think about that.
We did take that risk.
Scenario. Yeah, I've already lost 3 jobs. I could lose another 30. You know, think about that. People say, well, what would you do if you were HHS director? I tell Trump, I said, listen, I'm pulling the COVID vaccines off the market. They're not safe. I've got medical authority to make that decision. I just want to let you know now.
Right.
In fact, I'd probably tell him after I did it, you know. Right. And then Trump said, well, that's terrible. You're fired. I said, good. Well, I'm going to the public and telling them I'm fired because I took these vaccines off the market, and see what that does to your popularity.
Exactly. And what a way to go down.
Leverage. This is all about leverage.
You're right. I mean, yeah. I mean, I think the difference is you and I don't need the power or desire the power. We're just trying to get the truth out, and we've sacrificed a lot in doing so. I mean, how are your battles going? Are things at ease now? I know you were fighting the hospital, fighting the American Board of Internal Medicine. How is that going right now?
You know, my situation has not been as horrible as yours, but last fall, I resigned from the American Board of Internal Medicine after a relentless 2-year set of allegations and investigations into violation of a COVID misinformation policy. So I resigned from the American Board of Internal Medicine with my lawyer. I never got a legal letter from the American Board of Internal Medicine acknowledging this. And then the next thing that happened is sometime in January, MedPage Today, a physician newsletter organization that sends newsletters to all doctors in America, did a story on me. And it said that Dr. McCullough was now decertified by the American Board of Internal Medicine. And if you go to their website, it says decertified. Well, ABIM cannot decertify me because I had already basically resigned or withdrew from, right? And so they know that, and that's the reason why they didn't send me a legal letter. And I reserved all my rights with that. So then this expose goes out, and MedPage Today in 2021 sent out a similar type of newsletter, a whole story about me. And it was listed me as in the top 20 worst doctors in America.
Wow.
The rest of the doctors were wearing prison suits and had done horrible, heinous things to their patients and drug abusers, what have you. And there I was. At the time, I was, a staff cardiologist at Baylor University Medical Center seeing patients. And the allegation is the reason why I made the list is that there was a dispute in my separation agreement with Health Texas Provider Network, as if physician contracting disputes don't arise. So the approach has been to try to smear me with the other 1 million doctors out there. And so I've been in the courts continuously, had a medical license investigation of which I went through the hearing process. I was found to upheld the standard of care. There was no defects in what I did. It was a dissatisfied patient of which was promptly returned to the money. There was no therapies offered, no harm to the patient whatsoever. And yet the Texas Medical Board held that open for me and sent monthly letters saying I was under investigation for 18 months. And then inexplicably, I just got a letter that said, we're dropping everything.
Wow. I wish I'd get one of those letters. I don't think it's coming. Well,
so I've been in the court continuously. and it's been high stakes in terms of financial damages for all the legal fees. When Baylor, and the estimates are, Baylor University Medical Center, the estimates are they spent over $20 million trying to sue me.
Wow.
They hired very expensive outside counsel, of which there's no reason for them to do that, and then pursue it in the courts for 18 months. It never got to depositions or discovery or trial. And then, again, inexplicably, it was just dismissed with prejudice by the assistant judge in Dallas. And now I'm in the courts for the last year after I worked very, very hard at an office in McKinney. I kept all my contractual obligations. I saw thousands of patients. First one there in the morning, last one to leave at night. And now no payment for all that effort. None whatsoever. My wife is furious. And so now I've had to take that clinic to court for breach of contract and for my just payment for the fraction of the earnings that, I deserve for seeing all those patients.
Yeah, I am so sorry. It's just never ending, never ending.
No, I'm sure once I get through that, there'll be a new one. So something else will come up. And what we're realizing is that the corruption now is deep into all sources of information. For instance, if you take anything in medicine, you'll find risks and benefits in the medical literature. So I'm sure in your field, you could look at, rhinoplasty or any types of these procedures, and you'll see some papers that say it's a really good thing for this application and other ones saying that these are the there's a sense of balance. I recently did this for the COVID-19 vaccines. Mm-hmm. 380 papers have in the paper somewhere, even if they're describing calamitous side effects, in the papers, they conclude that the benefits outweigh the risks of the COVID-19 vaccines. 380 papers. Then I did the same query and I said, well, how many papers conclude just the opposite? Because I know those papers exist. You and I are on one of them. And what artificial intelligence comes up with? Zero. There's no papers that conclude.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So artificial intelligence has been programmed to screen out all the publications that have found the vaccines are unsafe.
Well, it's interesting. I am working on a book and I received comments from the editor, and 5 of the references that I cited, she's like, these references don't exist. So I had the 5 were just erased, just poof. And I went to Retraction Watch, I went to the Wayback Machine, and they were not about mRNA, they were about hospital protocols. But I was shocked. I don't know how that happens, and I'm like digging into that. But it's amazing what's going on. I mean, we're still dealing with censorship. I was kicked off. Not that it's a big deal, but I go on TikTok because I'm trying to reach those younger people, and kicked off. After I think I was on there for a month. Totally kicked off, and YouTube still on thin ice, always on probation on YouTube. So we still have a lot of work to do, but we're going to take a quick break.
I am absolutely blessed to be sponsored by this amazing product. This is a miracle. It is the Relief Band. I don't know if you guys have heard me talking about Relief Band. I have it here. I brought it with me. I don't know if you can see it. This is nothing short of a miracle. I have told you all about my daughter, Mimi, and her chronic car sickness since she was a tiny little baby. My poor darling Mimi, every time she got into the car, if she was in for more than 15 or 20 minutes, would get so sick. I think she probably threw up in my car over 200 times from the time she was a year old till she was 4 years old, until she got a little bit older. But even persisting into her teens, every time she gets into the car, if it's too long of an extended period of time, she gets so sick, nauseated, feels like she's going to throw up. And it's been constant. Well, we recently found Relief Band. They're sponsors of the Shannon Joy Show. And I used this with Mimi for our trip to New York City, and it was nothing short of a miracle for nausea, migraines, headaches, morning sickness. If you have a loved one who is pregnant and just suffering with morning sickness, people who are struggling with illness and nausea from chemotherapy, this absolutely tackles it. It's an amazing, patented, clinically proven, FDA cleared technology. And basically how it works, I won't go into it in detail, but this is the relief band. I don't know if you can see it, but it's just this little guy. And what you do is you take the gel, you put this gel right on your wrist. You put the relief band on your wrist, right? And it sends this little pulse, like this little shock, right? Into your wrist. And it essentially, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's magic. We'll get into the science of it in another read, but basically it sends a signal to your brain. Then it signals to the stomach to reduce nausea and provides immediate relief. It is an amazing, I did not think that this was going to work. They sent it to us. I'm like, there's no way that this thing is going to work. It was a miracle. 6 hours that Mimi spent in the car on our trip without even a smidgen of nausea or headache. It was an absolute miracle. And right now, the relief band is 20% off for the Joy audience. So if you are interested, reliefband.com, that's reliefband.com, 20% off with the JOY promo code, and they're going to send you free shipping as well. This is an amazing device. I cannot recommend it enough, especially for people who have dealt with chronic nausea and headaches. Thank you to our friends over at Relief Band. Again, the website, reliefband.com. That's reliefband.com. Promo code JOY for 20% off.
And we're back with the infamous, notorious Dr. Peter McCullough, one of my favorites. So I am curious, I think you see more severe vaccine injuries than I do. What's the youngest patient you've seen who's been injured from these shots, do you think?
Boy, in the teenage years, I had a young girl today who's nearly bedridden. She's missed 64 days of school in her junior year. And then I think she's missed, just September of her senior year. Now, let me preface this. This is not a vaccine injury. This is long COVID. Long COVID. And we measured her anti-spike antibodies, which is a key prognostic predictor, 15,000.
Whoa.
15,000.
Whoa.
She's sick. And lots of associated laboratories to show the spike protein is doing a number on her.
Do you think that she was vaccinated without her knowledge? Or, because I just haven't seen antibody levels that high in somebody who hasn't had the shot.
I brought that up with the parents today. I brought it up because she had been to the ER so many times and she was sick so much. I said, I'm worried about surreptitious vaccine administration. And so we're going to send a sample of her blood to Emodia in Germany, the laboratory where they will assess if there's any Pfizer or Moderna messenger RNA in her. We'll also be able to see if there's full-length spike. If there's full-length spike, that implies the vaccine is in the body. If it's just the S1 tip, that's probably just long COVID.
Yeah. Tell us about that test. It's a spike protein test, and it's in Germany, correct?
Right. So if you go to the Emodia lab site, and I'll provide the website for the show notes, it's a very good lab, and patients have to contact the lab, and then they'll give them instructions on how to get a sample over there. And I do have to tell you, it's not easy. The patients have to get a tube of blood. They have to get a cold pack to send it over there, and I believe they pay about $250. Now, they will do an ELISA test to see if the spike protein is in the bloodstream. They can clearly see S1 inside monocytes. They can see circulating messenger RNA of Pfizer, Moderna. They've got that down. And they can also see, and they use a variety of methods to evaluate this, simian virus 40, SV40 fragments for the promoter, the enhancer, the inhibitor, and antibiotic resistance genes. And they're also finding in some of my patients who are vaccinated DNA fragments coding for spike fragments. And it makes sense. As Pfizer and Moderna are created, it's created on a circular plasmid inside E. coli. When that thing breaks up, of course, there's going to be little pieces that code for part of the spike protein. It's a very sloppy manufacturing process. And so when this sample goes to Emodia and they give the email there of the key contact, and they'll talk with you and their phone number, the samples will go over there. So many clinics are using that. The patients show great interest. In this case, the parents were very interested. We were worried because the spike level is just, she wasn't that sick with COVID. It's not like, now, if we saw somebody hospitalized and on the ventilator and stuff, that's one thing. I've seen certainly some teenagers that are greatly affected. But the pediatric vaccine injury syndromes, I largely just hear about through people contacting me. Now, recently, the FDA commissioner, Dr. Marty Macri, who's a former surgeon at Johns Hopkins, he has said that they're going to review the childhood vaccine deaths. And I think that's a pretty weak and late start. And I commented that, well, wait a minute, they got a couple hundred dead children, but they have 19,460 adults that have died after the vaccine. A couple thousand have died, either right after the vaccine or the day later. So all those reports have to be reviewed. Most of them, and I've read many of them, there's about several hundred publications on them, and the publications conclude that they're legit reports. I mean, we wouldn't report it if the vaccine didn't cause it. So I've reported some of those deaths. I have patients die in my practice not related to the vaccine. I would never report that to VAERS. I'm just reporting the ones where I have the vaccine card, all the information, and it's clear the vaccine caused deaths. And that these scenarios are pretty easy. A patient takes the vaccine, they develop a blood clot, they die of a pulmonary embolism. That's it. Right. Or they take the vaccine, they develop myocarditis, they have a cardiac arrest. They're very straightforward to review these VAERS reports. This should have been done quickly early on, and the vaccines pulled off the market. But we went all the way through the Trump administration, December 10th, 2020, till the time Trump came out of office, nothing was done. Then we through the entire Biden administration, nothing was done. Now we're through the second Trump administration, new FDA commissioner, still nothing done. So there's starting to be a pattern here as, I think the administrations recognize they have a major safety disaster on their hands. And I think the biggest reluctance to pull the vaccines off the market will be an admission that they're not safe and ineffective. And once that official admission comes in, then the gates of hell are going to be opened.
Right. And we also need to get rid of the PrEP Act, which Representative Thomas Massey has a bill to put forward to remove the PrEP Act, because as it stands, the PrEP Act is still in effect until 2029. And it's very hard to hold anybody accountable while the PrEP Act is in place. So you're seeing young people who are injured. What's your approach to treating these patients that are injured, who you presume are injured from the shots? What's your basic approach?
The fundamentals that I've found is that patients don't get better unless we begin to try to get the spike protein out of the body. So the spike protein builds up in the human body after COVID, after the vaccines. There's no known human enzymes that break it down. None. Right. The messenger RNA is in the body. It's fully synthetic. There's no known enzymes that break down messenger RNA. This is pretty scary.
Yeah.
And so with spike protein, early on, I tried everything. And all the prescription drugs, none of them break down the spike protein. You physically have to break it down. And so in 2023, I published this detoxification approach that's been copyrighted, McCullough Protocol, Base Spike Protein Detoxification. And the reason why I've copyrighted things in my name legally is for accountability. That is, if it works, great, I'll take some credit for it. If it doesn't work, then I'm going to be blasted for it. But I'm accountable because it's my idea. I published it. And that involves the use of nattokinase, an enzyme that does get into the bloodstream where there are pharmacokinetics, bromelain, another family of enzymes, and then curcumin that does get into the bloodstream and it blocks spike protein inflammation. Those three form the core of the detoxification. Other things can be added, and it took time to learn the dose. Now we're starting with very high doses, nattokinase, 8,000 units twice a day under supervision for serious cases. Like that 15,000 spike antibody level, there's almost certainly circulating spike in the bloodstream. So far, every patient over 5,000 on the antibodies, we've found circulating spike in the bloodstream. So the spike detoxification, that's the wellness company, Ultimate Spike Detox, but there's no patent on it. If you were to go on Amazon, you can find many companies offering spike detoxification programs with that. That's perfectly fine. Just make sure the doses are high. The caveat is increased risk of bleeding, but it's manageable. And patients need to be on this for a year or more. We will see antibodies go down against the spike protein. When measured in the bloodstream, we will see the blood be cleared of the spike protein. Other enzymes may play a role. Sereptase may play a role. Papain, which Wellness Company has in the pediatric spike gummies from papaya. Lumbrokinase, it's possible that may play a role, though it may not survive the GI tract very well. And there's been one case report of giving half a dozen of these enzymes and having it have a positive impact in a man who had bilateral carotid thrombi. Mm-hmm. But that's the base. That's the reason why we called it base spike detoxification. I haven't found patients get better without it. They just simply don't. And the spike levels can be up for years over time. And I think if we leave it in long enough, they end up having problems that do emerge over time. Myocarditis becomes manifest, blood clots develop, autoimmunity. I had a man today with terrible autoimmune problem. It took a long time for it to develop. The spike has been in the system for so long. Now, for certain syndromes where we believe there is a reservoir of active SARS-CoV-2, and this is recently popularized by Dr. Roberto Zeballos in Brazil. When we believe there's a reservoir, that is, they've taken the vaccine or not, but they've had COVID, at least once, if not more than once, the virus can actually dwell in the human body a very long time. There is a paper in the pediatric GI literature, British Journal of Pediatric Gastroenterology, that found living virus in children 5 months after COVID-19. That's as long as they looked. There is a NIH autopsy paper by Chertow and colleagues, people who ultimately died after COVID. They had living virus in them a year after having COVID.
Wow.
Okay. So we're not just talking about spike protein, we're talking about the virus. Now, Chertow found it in the eyes, the liver, the skin, all the organs. So this virus is everywhere. It's kind of like no wonder people feel bad during the pandemic. And so when we believe there's a reservoir, and this is how I've ascertained it clinically, if there are any craniofacial syndromes, loss of taste and smell, hearing and vision changes, lancinating headaches, this kind of trigeminal neuralgic forms of headaches, skin rashes of any type that are in this scenario, night sweats. Night sweats is a very important one. I always ask people about night sweats. They go, yeah, ever since this, I wake up in the sheets, I'm drenched at night. I think of a reservoir. Mm-hmm. And in that situation, that's when I prescribe ivermectin. Mm-hmm. So it turns out a lot of people fall in that category. I prescribe ivermectin virtually every day. It's the standard dosing. Someone my size would take 36 milligrams a day for 90 days straight.
Yep.
That's what I do. So, and when you have a reservoir, because patients will instantly feel better. They'll say, wow, in 2 weeks I feel better. I said, but don't lay off the ivermectin until we go a full 90 days. If a patient, I had a patient like this today, if their blood ANA is positive, now his blood ANA had turned positive, anti-chromatin positive, he had the lupus anticardiolipin positive, he had autoimmunity turned on, hydroxychloroquine, 200 milligrams twice a day for 90 days, sometimes extending to 6 months. That's what I do. The autoimmunity, in my experience, if we're dropping spike protein with the nattokinase and bromelain, the autoimmunity can be shut off. The ANA can turn negative and patients can resolve any autoimmune symptoms. If there's neuropathic symptoms, small fiber neuropathy, malaise, post-exertional fatigue, then a nicotine patch, 7 milligrams a day, plays a role. My patient with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, he feels great relief with a nicotine patch, as an example. Any type of cardiac or chest symptoms at all, very important. So patients, palpitations, chest pain, fluctuations in blood pressure, small pericardial effusion, new EKG changes, mandatory colchicine. This is very important. Colchicine, a drug we use for gout. It's a generic drug. It's derived from the petals of a purple flower, just 0.6 milligrams a day, mandatory for a year. Now, that's in the guidelines, the cardiology guidelines for myopericarditis. I've had patients go to the Mayo Clinic with vaccine myocarditis and they don't get colchicine.
Yeah, I love colchicine.
It's a very, very important. I use a ton of it.
I personally had a little bit of palpitations. I did not get the shot, but after the virus, started having palpitations, and wow, the colchicine just knocked it out instantly.
Hang on. When I had COVID myself in 2020, I had probably more severe symptoms than I was, thinking. And I was a patient in the Cole Corona trial. Cole Corona trial was the best COVID outpatient trial of all. 4,000 patients, multi-center, randomized, double-blind, everything. It was bells and whistles, the best trial of all. It was way better than any of the hydroxy or ivermectin trials. And colchicine reduced hospitalization and death. So there's a total of, I think, nearly 60 or 70 trials of colchicine. One of the first one was in Greece. So it clearly has kind of anti-inflammatory properties of the unique inflammation that the virus causes. And there's one, you could be shocked at this, there's one case report from Europe where a man takes the vaccine, he gets myocarditis. They treat him with colchicine, he gets better for 2 weeks. So they stop it, and the myocarditis comes back. So they restart the colchicine, great. So then he stabilizes for a month or two, and you know what they do? They give him another COVID shot.
Good Lord.
On colchicine, and you know what? Nothing happened. No flare of the myocarditis. That's how strong colchicine is. And so I see a giant, actually I'm worried about the cardiac deaths. So far, all the cardiac deaths that I'm aware of, they weren't treated with spike detox or colchicine. And conversely, everybody treated with spike detox and colchicine, no cardiac arrest, including people who did have a cardiac arrest and have defibrillators. This is interesting. So those who've had a cardiac arrest from the vaccine and had a defibrillator put in and they survive, there's been no defibrillator discharges once they're on the detox and colchicine.
Yeah, well, let's talk about myocarditis because it's become a household name. And prior to that, it was considered really rare, right? And what are the long-term impacts of having myocarditis? Because the government would like you to believe that it's really not a big deal. Like once you've recovered, you can move on and not worry. But what's the reality on that?
Well, in a paper by Rose, who's the first author, I'm the senior author, we used our CDC data. And our CDC had about 3,500 cases of myocarditis reported to VAERS. This has been published in the peer-reviewed literature cited in PubMed. And in that series, it was very serious. The vast majority are hospitalized. They're very sick with acute vaccine myocarditis, and the mortality rate's 3.9%. That's a high mortality. That's a higher mortality than acute ST segment elevation myocardial infarction. That's a very high mortality. And we're talking about young kids, teenagers or kids in their 20s. There shouldn't be any medical condition where there's a mortality rate of 3.9%. So our CDC and FDA are lying to America when they say it's mild and transient. They're simply lying. And we had Senate testimony on this May 21st, 2025. And it's all in an official permanent subcommittee for investigations record. It's in a report. Our government agencies knew Pfizer and Moderna were causing heart damage. And the Israelis were reporting it to us. They were communicating. The Israelis already had 62 cases in February of 2021. 2 were fatal. And our agencies, and that includes the White House, the Senate, and CDC, NIH, FDA, they all covered it up to Americans for months to try to get more people vaccinated. Well, so it's greatly concerning. And there's been recent papers suggesting even late people get myocarditis. And so, the best prognostic indicator, in my view, is the spike antibody. Once we get it down below 1,000, I've never seen any complications whatsoever. Probably the next best is the cardiac MRI. When it does show an abnormality, when there's more than 15% cardiac scar, watch out. Very high risk for sudden death or development of heart failure. And by the way, Jenna Schauer from UCLA reported scars in young children in the heart of like 20%, 27%. It was alarming how much heart damage the kids were taking with the vaccine. Now, in my practice, I've never seen anything more than 15%. I've seen 5 and 7% scars by MRI, and they actually go away over time with detox and colchicine. So the young man I saw today with hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, he had no detectable scar by cardiac MRI. He has a defibrillator in, it's not gone off. So, fortunately, and his antibodies were about 7,000. So fortunately, colchicine, he's had a full year of colchicine and detox. It did its job.
That's wonderful. Yeah, I worry about the kids because you can have undetected myocarditis. Myocarditis can be a little bit tricky to diagnose in somebody that can't tell you they have chest pain, right? So you're giving these babies these shots. Are they developing myocarditis and we have no idea? And then they're developing scars on the heart, and then years later they drop dead. I mean, is that a realistic concern?
It is. There are CDC papers on this. When cardiac troponins were measured in these little kids, there was a fraction where it was positive. So that exact scenario that you laid out, I think, is happening in a small group of children, sadly, who took the vaccines. In my experience, I do genetic testing on them for polymorphisms of sarcomeric or non-sarcomeric proteins in the heart, and at least half have some polymorphism that explains why in them they got the myocarditis and why in another child they won't. We also know a paper from Yonker in Circulation from Harvard showed that young children in the hospital with vaccine myocarditis, they all had spike protein in the bloodstream causing the heart damage. But in children who are fine, the antibodies were appropriately neutralizing the spike. And in other children, they did not raise enough neutralizing spike antibody. And so the spike was unopposed and able to damage the heart. The Yonker paper is a very important paper. Sadly, the American College of Cardiology has completely ignored it. And the American College of Cardiology has reiterated its call for more COVID vaccines, even in those with heart damage.
Really? So they are not afraid of these shots at all, even though even the CDC admits that they increase the risk of myocarditis in young males. And the American College of Cardiology is doubling down on it. That's shocking.
They've doubled down on it, and they continue the false narrative that COVID itself causes more myocarditis, COVID illness. So therefore, we should give the shots and cause even more myocarditis. You can see how nonsensical this is. In the COVID-19 illness, the SARS-CoV-2 infection, the virus has never been found in the heart. There's never been an autopsy-confirmed case of myocarditis. The NCAA screened thousands of athletes in 2020 before the vaccines, thinking the virus could cause myocarditis. There were only 36 putative cases using EKG, MRI, and blood testing. None of them panned out. Tuvali et al. From Israel in 2020 showed there was no increase in myocarditis with the infection alone. So the ACC is simply following a false narrative. And it's still, again, this is in artificial intelligence now. If you type in any AI search engine, they'll say, oh yeah, the virus causes more myocarditis than the vaccines. And it's completely false.
Well, you published an excellent review paper on this, I believe with Jessica Rose as well, really outlining the details of why that's such a false misconception. If you can can you tell us where we can find that paper? I actually wrote a summary of it on my Substack because I think the paper is something like 40 pages long, but it is an amazing piece of work.
The first author of this paper is Nathaniel Mead, and he is a former NIH staff writer who's now gotten his PhD. And the Mead paper has been published in the journal, and let me pull it up, the journal Cardiovascular Research and Innovation, and it's being heavily blocked through all forms of social media. I'm the senior author on the paper. And let me just pull up the exact citation here. I have to keep it handy because it's so heavily censored. And so it's published in the International Journal of Cardiovascular Research and Innovation, the January to March 2025 issue. And there we basically lay out how the false narratives started about COVID causing itself, the infection causing the myocarditis. And where this comes from is in 2020, when people were sick with COVID, as a routine measure in the hospital, cardiac troponin was drawn. That's a blood test for heart damage. And it turns out a previous paper about 10 years ago from Baylor, my institution, showed that 29% of people in the hospital get troponin drawn, and invariably it's positive because it's such a sensitive test. So if someone was in the ICU for urosepsis or for cellulitis or for pneumococcal pneumonia, the troponin would be positive. So no surprise, those who were in the hospital for COVID pneumonia, the troponin was positive. And that troponin triggers certain ICD codes that have mapped to myocarditis. So people have said, well, a third of patients with COVID in the hospital have myocarditis. No, they just have a blood test marker. None of those cases in the hospital were ever confirmed using what's called the Lake Louise criteria or a clinical confirmation of myocarditis. None of them had MRI confirmation. So SARS-CoV-2 infection does not cause myocarditis. I'm a cardiologist. I'm here to tell you that's the truth. But yet that false narrative is in full force with the American College of Cardiology. I've written that committee myself on them. They know fully well they're wrong, but they still continue to promote that false narrative.
Well, I want to go back a little bit to the testing that you're doing with the spike protein, and you send it off to Germany. I had a couple of follow-up questions on that. How long does it take to get the results back? And I assume it's not covered by insurance. I think you said it was about $250, or is that just shipping? And then how often should people get tested? How often should they check their levels?
The Germany lab test is about $250 to the lab, and whatever it costs to get the tube of blood and the mailer, probably another $30 or something like that. And it takes about a month to get the results back. Now, they do provide a nice report to patients, and we encourage this in patients who are very interested or in research. But the big breakthrough has been just the LabCorp, just the antibody blood test done in the United States. LabCorp has recently opened that up to public ordering their own test. You don't even need a doctor to order it. If you go to LabCorp, go to Labs on Demand, click over to infectious diseases, click on COVID antibody, pay $69, and then you just go to the LabCorp you want to. It'll be in their system, and you'll get your spike antibodies. So did you check your spike antibodies, Dr. Bowden?
No. Well, yeah, actually I did. I can't even remember. It wasn't alarming because I can't even remember what number it was. But I do have a lot of people. What'd you say?
Will you blow 1,000, do you think?
I think so. But I have a lot of people calling me in a panic because they check their antibody level and they don't have any symptoms. Do you treat patients that have high antibody levels but no symptoms?
I think they should go on the detox. I mean, there are too many studies showing it's prognostic now, meaning they don't have something now, but they could end up with something. And when the antibodies are sky high like that, they're being stimulated by spike proteins. Spike proteins in the body, it shouldn't be there. So listen to this. So I had COVID in 2020, which it was a well-documented case. And And then I had 2 more episodes later on in 2021, 2022. I didn't test, but contextually it felt like COVID. So I measured my levels and my ears are ringing. I don't feel so good. My levels were 2,300. Wow. So I'm above that 1,000. I go on the spike detox religiously for 9 months. I recheck it. Now I'm 900. Oh, that ringing in my ears is probably about 80 to 90% reduced. I didn't take any ivermectin or anything else, just the natural spike detox. Now, my wife, who kind of breezed through COVID once and seems relatively, bulletproof, we checked her and she's about 700. My co-author, John Leake, who got COVID one time, nothing seems to happen to John, he was 400. So the great mystery in our circles was my wife's mother, who took 2 COVID shots in order to, when we tried to get her out of Canada during the COVID crisis. It was a crisis for our parents. And my wife and I have been so busy with senior care last, 5 years. It's been unbelievable. So we literally had to pull them out of Canada and work to sell their house. And everything was so hard. But in order to physically get mama out of Canada, she takes 2 vaccines. And she stays with us. So I've been carefully observing my mother-in-law, and there's nothing wrong with her. Nothing. She's perfectly healthy at 92. And I asked her, did you have any pain in her arm? She goes, I never felt them. She goes, it was the lightest shot I've ever had. It was like nothing ever happened. I said, you're kidding me. So finally, curiosity got to us. We checked her antibody levels. Guess what they came back at?
Minimal.
200.
Oh, wow. Yeah, she probably got saline, or she got a dud.
That's
right?
it. That's it. Many people who took the shots, they feel fine because they got a dud, like my mother-in-law. So, there are about 4,500 batches of Pfizer, and I've checked how bad is my batch.com. There have been 25% of the batches, there's been at least 1 death. And the deaths are grossly underreported. So those 25 batches probably were fully loaded batches. But 75%
how many are in a batch? How many doses are in a batch?
Oh, that varies. Initially, the batches were really small. Later on, the batches were really big. But and the early batches were far more dangerous than the later batches. So in 2021 was the worst. And then later on, there's fewer and fewer side effects. So, but the point is, probably 75% got a dud. And there's 25% we're worried about. United States, 81% of people took at least 1 shot. Only 70% took 2 shots. So, I mean, those are the proportions that we're dealing with. By the way, all this is going to come out. I have to get this on the show. It's going to come out on Tuesday, September 9th, 2025, U.S. Senate. Senator Ron Johnson's holding another hearing. Wonderful. And this time, the star expert witness is Dr. Vibeke Manichi from Denmark. And she's terrific. She's been over here. I've had her on my show. She's going to also be headlining at the Association of American Physicians and Surgeons meetings in Washington later this week, AAPS. Manichi is the one who broke the news on the batches being variable. Some batches being like duds, and other batches being very lethal. That's her work. She's shown it in Sweden, and now she's shown it in the Czech Republic. Anyhow, she's going to be on the stand. She'll be testifying, and this is about vaccines causing chronic disease, not just the COVID vaccines, but this ever-expanding childhood vaccine schedule.
And you said Tuesday, September, what date? What's that?
9th.
Well,
Tuesday, September 9th.
You mean tomorrow? Is that tomorrow? That's tomorrow.
Yeah, it's tomorrow.
Okay.
But I said that because I don't know what date this is going to come out.
Right, that's true. So, yes, we had to pre-record this because I'm going to be in court on Wednesday, September 17th with Methodist Hospital. So we're pre-recording this. Real quick, tell us about your book. Well,
thank you so much. I know we have hardly any time left, but everybody's got to get their copy of Vaccines, Mythology, Ideology, and Reality. And guess what? We just made the New York Times bestseller list.
Wow.
Hard copy, nonfiction. No one's been able to do it in the COVID genre. We did it. Great credit to John Leake. He basically wrote it. I provided some medical curation. I wrote a few of the parts, but John did most of it. It's a gripping 300-year history of what happened with vaccines. It's got a beginning, a middle, and the end, and it's a story where you get to learn these characters. It's not a boring history book. It's very interesting and exciting. And you can see that what happened with vaccines over time is that it became a religion. It's not based on science. It's based on faith. And from the very beginning of time, there's tremendous fear of infectious diseases, bold claims made by vaccinologists that they could, protect us if we took their vaccines, and always a lot of money and power from the very beginning. And so people said, Dr. McCullough, how could people lose their minds over the COVID shots? I said, it's not new. They completely lost their mind during the smallpox vaccine campaign. In fact, parents were put in jail late 19th century if they did not vaccinate their kids against smallpox. Jail time.
Wow.
And we almost came to that in the United States with the COVID shots. And guess what? The first smallpox vaccines weren't safe either. Now, we also have in this, so this mythology, ideology, reality, we also have the reality. We're not against vaccines. John and I have taken plenty of vaccines during our lifetime. My kids took vaccines. I mean, the reality is the vaccines have assisted in dropping case counts, let's say of measles, for instance, chickenpox. But modern sanitation did far more than the vaccines. And with every vaccine, there is a consequence. So with measles, sadly, there's more deaths due to the measles vaccine than deaths they would prevent, because measles is a mild disease. And there's a very good case report of a measles vaccine death published by Stanford in the peer-reviewed published literature. I mean, it can happen. It's sad, but it can happen. Chickenpox, my kids didn't get chickenpox. They took the vaccine, but guess what? Sadly, they face a higher risk of shingles as a consequence. And now what's coming up is vaccines given in large combinations, like the case published by Johns Hopkins neurologist Dr. Jonathan Poling. In his daughter's case, that bundle of vaccines directly caused autism. Directly. Yeah. It's in the peer-reviewed literature. In fact, the federal government agreed because they pulled him out of the vaccine injury compensation omnibus, and they separately financially settled with him. So that linkage is clear. All this is going to come out in the U.S. Senate this week. I hope Robert F. Kennedy, who is in the news a lot, I hope he shows up to the hearing. This is very important. Yeah. I hope the CDC begins to show up to these hearings. They're in Washington. We're paying their salaries. They better show up.
Well said. It's time for everybody to show up and speak up. All these elected representatives who are no longer getting these COVID shots, we know it's the majority of you out there. Please speak up, because you're there to help the people that elected you. You're there to protect us. Let's do the right thing and speak up. There are only 3 members of Congress who have called for the COVID shots to be pulled off the market: Marjorie Taylor Greene, Thomas Massie, and Senator Ron Johnson. It's really sad that more have not stepped up to the plate. So with that, I am so grateful for you, Dr. McCullough, to come on in such short notice and spread your knowledge. And I'm excited to read your book. And I'll have you on again soon and get a good update.
Well, thanks so much for having me.